Good morning. Welcome into Hurrdat Sports Radio, presented by Centris Federal Credit Union. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla here at Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill. What's up, DB?
Oh, you know,
we
just looking at all my Momofuku sales.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I don't know what that means.
What's that?
Well,
Like the restaurant?
Yeah, you know, like Momofuku, you get like.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure I can just say Asian.
Yeah, it's fine.
Like
food.
Yeah.
You can say Asian food. That's all right.
Stuff.
Yeah.
Like I have, like my house. Ravi, glad you asked. No, it's like a little mini Asian mart.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, so I have like fish sauce. I have like oyster sauce. I have tamarind. I have
you guys cook.
Shawing. You
guys cook
I got rice vinegar.
Asian food a lot.
Yes. It's very easy and it is clean.
That's good.
Yeah.
Like it's tasty.
I did some country ribs yesterday that were, just taking advantage of buy one, get ones.
What's a country rib?
A country rib, it's like the loin. It's like the loin. It's like the strip, the back strip, and it's like the fatty part. I think of where you get the St. Louis, and you cut them into strips.
Okay.
And some have like the little. I almost said spina bifida, but that's not the word I'm looking for. Have the little like
vertebrae.
Yeah, that goes. It's not even spinalis. Like, what am I doing? Anyway,
you got Rocco Spindler on the brain. Is the problem?
I do. Hey, I don't know if you heard. This was like all weekend on the board. It was like, hey man, if he leaves on Tuesday, it's over.
Yeah, gotta commit today.
School's in session.
Gotta commit today.
I'm like, well, if he's coming on Tuesday, maybe he's coming to sign. I don't know. But anyway, yeah. So I made those things. I didn't used to like them. Like I'm 50, soon to be 51. So for probably 47 years, I didn't like them. But it's a cheaper cut.
Okay.
And we never made them right. No, shout out my mom. She's fantastic.
How dare you?
Well, they had
under the bus at 7:03 a.m.
They had a tendency to go in the oven and as opposed to on the grill. I put mine on the grill.
You're a big grill guy.
Huge grill guy.
Yeah.
Have you ever felt like you hit the lottery when you find money in your pocket?
Sure. Yeah. You like accidentally. You're like, oh shoot.
So I had this is a true story. Sunday, my suit coat pocket, my sport coat pocket, I had $17. Why it was in that pocket, I don't know. But 7 of them were ones, and I had a 10.
Okay.
Do you know what I spent it on?
Country ribs.
Nope.
No.
I already had those.
Barbecue sauce.
Close. I'm black, but I don't really love barbecue sauce.
I was thinking for the ribs, not because you're black.
But I did buy charcoal. A huge bag of charcoal.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
How much does charcoal cost? It costs you $17?
It's anywhere from, depends on what you like, but it's anywhere from 12 to 18.
Dang.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Man.
You can get the double bag at Costco for, on a good day, like 22.
Yeah, everything's more at Costco because it's giant, though.
Yeah, and I bet I'd go through it this week.
You would go through all that in a week?
I'll go through a bag. I'm going to... It's just me and Micah eating tonight, so I'm going to figure out something to do outside again. Oh, yeah. Don't kid yourself now. I would never. You know what I use the oven for? To heat my pans before I sear something. I don't cook any protein in the oven.
Or to store food that should be in the fridge.
Yeah. So I have a steak that I made Sunday that it did not make the fridge.
Come on, man.
And I tore it in half this morning and ate it.
No.
I thought of you.
Come on, man.
I was like, yep, team Asian steak, because it had a little hint of Asian. I got these little steaks from
How come you got to think about me when it's Asian steak, huh?
Because I said it. No, you're not getting me.
Selfish.
I thought I said something different. I was like, did I say? I did take turmeric this morning, though.
Okay.
Orange capsule.
What's that got to do with me?
I don't know. Maybe think of you. Never mind. I think I'm going to get out of this. But anyway, man, the ribs were fantastic. So you know what I started doing?
What's that?
I saw this on TikTok. I don't let my butter sit out. I grate it cold.
Oh,
So
okay,
it's
with like a cheese grater.
like shavings.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and it's like
So butter's the one thing you won't leave sit out.
no, butter goes in the fridge.
So do leftovers, DB.
Yeah, I probably should have put that steak in there.
Yeah, you
But
should have.
Can I just tell you why though? Do you care?
I do care.
Okay, so I got these steaks. They were a gift for the coaching staff at our football banquet, and they're kind of thin, still good quality, but they're thin, right? So I like my steaks a certain temp, and to bring them back to temp with a thin cut, I'm not going through the hassle of putting it in some foil at 200 in the oven for 30 minutes. So I leave it out.
So you'd rather
because I'm just going to eat it cold anyway.
Go through the potential hassle of food poisoning.
Yeah. Now, full disclosure, I did have to get up last night about 2:40, but we're good.
I wonder what happened there.
Quick 6 minutes. I'm out. Slept like a baby. Okay? Thanks for asking. Allowed me to watch a couple of highlights. Caught a proverbial break yesterday.
Yeah. So my wife would like me to relay to you.
Yes.
That you don't build up an immunity to food poisoning.
Oh, is she sure?
Yes.
Well, how come nothing happened to people in the olden days? All they had was salt.
First of all, salt's excellent at curing meats and preventing it from going bad.
They weren't putting it in the fridge.
People died back then all the time.
Oh, is that why it had, like, if you lived at 26, you were old?
You know how people think that life expectancies are longer because, like, medical technology and stuff like that?
Preservatives.
No, it's because people just die young less. There were 70 and 80-year-olds 100 years ago. You just have less people dying at 20 because they ate meat that was left out on a counter 3 days ago. And like less dysentery and stuff too. Although I think the leaving meat out and dysentery kind of go hand in hand there.
Yeah, I did. I mean, shame on me. I made some dumplings for Zoe that she inevitably picked over.
I love dumplings.
And I was cleaning the stovetop. And I think I hit it with a little spray.
The stovetop?
I think I hit the corner of the dumplings with the spray.
Oh, with like a cleaning spray?
Yeah, I tried to kind of go around. I should have just moved it. I was being lazy in a hurry because there was only a couple of streaks that I wanted to wipe off.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had to toss them because I didn't want to run that risk. Because I don't think you can eat lemon-based Lysol cleaning spray.
Probably not. Although it's probably not any worse for you than
Saturday,
3-day-old steak.
Relax.
Steve has a question.
Which Steve? Steve Young, Steve Crooks?
Not well, actually. We'll call him Michael Jackson, smooth criminal, Crooks.
Okay. Oh yeah. He's kind.
He says, when you grill, do you gas, pellet, or lump charcoal?
So I'm a lump guy.
There you go.
When I'm slumming it, and I mean slumming it, we're talking brats, burgers, something that I can get away with not needing smoke. I will put it in my outdoor oven, aka Traeger. Now, full disclosure, my Traeger is almost half my age.
Oh wow!
Oh, it's 20 years old.
Yeah. So you've had it for a long time.
It's not 20 exactly. I got it in 09.
So 15.
Yeah.
So we went from like 25 to 20. Now it's 15.
Yeah, math. I see what you're on this morning. You're trying to get me to it's because you said the F word to me earlier.
No, I didn't
Yes,
even.
You did. Yes, you did.
You thought I did.
You said F me.
I said go for it, and you heard something else.
Say what you got to say.
Say what you got to say.
That's not what you said.
That is what I said.
Okay.
Because you go, hey, should I go grab the remote? I said, go for it.
I don't like to use the L word, so I'm going to assume that you're telling the truth.
I am telling you the truth. When have I ever had a problem admitting that I cussed you out?
Well, good point.
Like, what do I care?
Good point.
If we're not on the air, I'm not going to lie about not saying a swear word.
Shane, did you get that TikTok I sent you at 1 o'clock?
What is what's the L word?
Liar.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah.
I think that word is, I think people should use that word very loosely. Or not as loosely
as
they do. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you for clarifying.
No, I got you.
Yeah.
I mean, when have you known me to lie to you, DB?
Well, you're pretty out there. You're pretty bold. Not a lot. How about Jacob? Just open hand slapping you yesterday.
I love Jacob to death.
He is the truth.
I love Jacob to death.
Golly.
I do. I love JP. That's my guy. I'll go to the ends of the earth.
He's kind of a little meanie.
Sometimes I just can't.
Oh man, I laugh. He's like, "Hey, DB, sorry, blowing up your phone." I was like, "Man, if you're chewing up Ravi, blow that thing up."
Right. The two things you love most in this world is like random, like college basketball content that you will never talk about on air, and me getting chewed out for something. Here's, I think, the problem though.
The random college basketball thing is pretty funny.
That's inaccurate.
Yeah.
Because nothing blows my phone up like you and D. Marinas
just
watching Seton Hall DePaul. And I'm like, no, I'm not watching this game, guys, and I won't.
I watched the Illinois ladies yesterday.
I switched it over to Ohio State.
Yeah, so I'm telling you, I'm gonna say this. What is today? The 28th? Yeah, because yesterday was the anniversary of Whitney's rendition of the 1991 Super Bowl, where she was fantastic. She had a little tracksuit on.
Yeah.
I'm not even gonna do her voice. Never mind. I almost went into character.
Go for it. Let's hear it.
No. Anybody but Whitney.
Okay.
No, pretty big voice.
Okay.
Forgot what I was gonna say.
You were watching the Illinois ladies game.
Oh,
women's game.
So I'm gonna say on January 28th.
Oh yeah.
I think Ohio State's pretty good. I know. Especially the way that Iowa just refuses to guard.
Yeah, it's hard to tell against Iowa.
But
it's hard to tell against Iowa.
They got a certified bucket getter. They're kind of old.
Okay,
they compete like.
Can we have this conversation? Because I think this is important. Because this actually goes into what JP was yelling at me about, right? So, college basketball teams do not live in a binary state, right? It's not one or the other.
Correct.
Like, here's the thing that got me in trouble with Jacob and Dean Marinas and apparently part of the coaching staff was I said Creighton sucked. At the time, I think they sucked. Now, they're a lot better. They've gotten better.
Yeah.
Also, people take things a little literally sometimes. Like, I think Creighton was not playing well in comparison to how I'm used to watching Creighton play. So in my very, coarse and loose vernacular, I said, they kind of suck right now compared to the standard I've seen set for this program. Now, same thing was true 2 months ago. Nebraska, pretty good basketball team. Right now, they kind of suck.
Yeah.
Right? Both of those things can be true, and they change over time. So here's where, like, the day that I said that Creighton kind of sucked, I believed it. I no longer believe that. I haven't said that on air.
Do you want them to take their foot off your throat?
I would like them to understand that in the moment it may have been true and it's not true later. Also, not everything is meant to be like super literally. I'm not saying that they're Alabama State or somebody when I say they suck, right? It's in context. We're grading on a curve here. Creighton has set their standard reasonably high, especially over the last 4 years, right? 3 Sweet 16s in the last 4 years, an Elite 8. Like, that's a pretty high standard. I understand a lot of those.
Yeah, they're top 25 program. You want them to be a top 25 program.
And when they're performing below that, and in my estimation at the time I was talking about this, they were performing well below that, then that sucks for this program, right? That's all I mean. People need, it's not always the most literal sense of the world. I understand they're like DePaul, much worse than Creighton. I get that. Seton Hall, much worse than Creighton. I'm not saying they're the worst team in the Big East or that they're always going to be the way they are when I say that. In the moment, they kind of sucked.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they've had stretches this year where they weren't a very good basketball team. Is that fair?
Yeah.
They've had stretches this year, including right now, where they look like a really good basketball team. Duke has all those stretches in the same game.
Oh, yeah. Aren't they something?
What did I text you last night?
Man.
Was that dead on?
It's a weird team. But I told you.
You did.
I told you that you kept wanting to make them the GOAT, and I was like,
no, I just don't have. I mean,
I'm like, I don't know. I don't think so.
It's not that I want them to be the best team in the country. It's that I look around and I don't know who else is.
I do kind of wonder now
Is that fair?
Their defensive metrics are through the roof.
Defensively, they're pretty good.
And I think they are good.
Yeah.
Now, I also think the ACC is
very bad.
Yeah.
Very, very bad. But they go through, what did I say? They go through like 12 minutes a game where they look like the best team in the country.
I think I'm all of a sudden going to go to Westside Central.
They play like
and not watch Carolina Duke.
They play like 20 minutes a game where they look like whoever they're playing. They're going to play half of the game.
They just go through these stretches where they just make it really,
score at all.
Tough on you to score.
And then they go through stretches where they do not score at all. Which, when you've got the players they do, is inexcusable.
Really?
Yes. When you have Kneifel.
Yeah.
I don't know why I always want to say Kneifel.
There's a joke in there somewhere.
Probably. And Flag, when you have those types of guys, even if you only have a couple of them, I get you might go through stretches where it's a little bit harder, but they go through stretches where they look inept offensively. And that's inexcusable when you have those guys.
Yeah, you know what? I think you're kind of missing it, though.
Okay.
They're not very consistent shooting the basketball.
True.
So
I get that.
You could just see how teams guard them.
I do. I get that. But when you've got a guy that level, especially Flag.
I just got to say this.
Yeah.
We went through a stretch where we used like these pink downy beads.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not feeling them.
Is it like leave a weird residue on your clothes?
I don't like the way that I smell.
Oh, okay. It's just a smell thing.
Yeah, I feel like I smell like an old flower.
Whoa. Better than smelling like an old steak? No, old flowers smell bad though. That's fine. They start to rot.
Yeah,
it's terrible.
It's not like I like a gardenia. Like
it's very specific.
I ain't really vibing with the floral thing.
If it helps, I can't smell you from here.
That's great.
So you're not bothering anybody else.
Shane, you good?
It is not optional.
Shane's losing his voice.
How about my man was at Basha yesterday? Okay.
What's that?
He was in Arizona yesterday.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Can we talk about the Rocco Spindler thing for a second here?
Why? What's on your mind?
Well, because I think people are a little dumb.
Oh no! See those strong stances.
I said a little dumb.
When you say that, you can't walk it back.
Sure, I can.
Oh Lord!
I said a little bit.
Here's Ravi Michael Jackson with the moonwalk.
Everybody can be a little dumb at times, DB. It just happens.
Dude, you guys act like, am I the only one that eats 3-day-old meat? And it was only 2.
No. I think a lot of people eat 2 or 3 day old meat, but it's after it's been refrigerated and properly stored.
I think it's overrated.
I don't think a lot of people eat 2 day old meat that's just been out.
It just consider it beef jerky.
That's not going to do that at all. So the Rocco Spindler thing, right? People are like, oh, he's either got to commit today or he can't come. You know that a lot of athletes do this thing, right? Where they'll enroll at multiple schools to meet deadlines.
Yeah.
And then just figure out where they want to go later.
Correct.
And withdraw from everywhere else.
They do that.
So it doesn't matter at all.
Yeah. The key is that he has to enroll.
Yeah. But like if he wants to, he can go wherever he wants. That's my point.
Yeah.
There is like that deadline means nothing.
Yeah.
If he has his ducks in a row, which he went to Notre Dame, so he probably is reasonably bright. Like he has this figured out. This is not a big deal.
Plus, it's only 3 schools, so it's
so
Indiana, Michigan, and Nebraska.
Enroll at all 3 schools.
Yeah.
And then withdraw from the 2 that you don't want to go to. Now, it would be lovely if
Although,
what's up?
I think Michigan is today too.
Yeah, so he probably has sent the paperwork in to be enrolled at both schools.
Yeah.
I mean that's my point.
I think I should.
I believe it is. But
thank you. Thank you.
I'm just going off of what I read on the internet, so who knows?
For your support.
Always.
See, that's the kind we normally go with.
I'm very
I don't know
supportive.
why we were messing around with
big Downey guy.
I don't know what happened.
I'm sheets over beads. I like the dry.
No, beads are fire, and your boy is super OCD. So
I'm stunned to find this out.
And there's a way to do it. The beads go first, then you drop the little thing that the kids ate for a while that looks like a giant gummy.
The pods?
Yep. That. You throw that in?
Those were dishwasher things.
No, they have them for laundry.
Do they?
And they're even more squishy.
Oh. So we use the pods for the dishwasher.
No, they have them for
laundry?
Yeah, there's a thing, by the way, separate thought.
Mm-hmm.
There's this thing on TikTok where we've been using the pods in the dishwasher wrong. Some of these people load them in on the bottom. They don't put them in the little drawer thing that like pops open.
Yeah, you're supposed to put them in the drawer thing because it like time releases it throughout the wash cycle.
I don't know, man. TikTok told me.
TikTok tells me a lot of stuff that just isn't true.
Is Microsoft going to buy them?
TikTok?
Yeah.
I don't know.
So I wonder what that price tag is. And what do you get?
It's got to definitely be north of what Twitter was bought for.
Well, no. Don't say anything loud about expenditures. You will have to office across the street and no longer have contact directly with the president, Elon Musk. He put that dude in timeout. That's crazy.
He slapped his hand harder than Jacob slapped mine.
He's a grown man. Hey, listen, I'm gonna need you to office across the street, and you answer to her. Okay, you don't go directly to me. Last time that happened, we had a coach get fired, and you almost had to fight his exec on the field before the UCLA game.
Not taking those phone calls anymore. UCLA, am I fighting Mick Cronin's? Getting another dub?
No, but I have to go back and tell you this.
UCL.
God, you act
What's up?
so...
I even wore the UCLA blue today.
That's Carolina. That's Carolina.
I watched my UCLA blue.
That's Carolina.
I got a little gold in my shoes too.
That's Carolina. Are you sure you want to take the SEC?
Oh, we'll get into this. We'll get into this.
Why you don't act all confident with your chest all barreled out?
We'll get into it. I did some math. I feel good.
I need Jamie to be listening so he can check your figures.
I feel good. Man, you ain't got to check my figures.
I didn't know Jamie used to officiate.
I didn't either.
He tweeted at me the other day, and at one point or another, Padilla told him he sucked too.
Yeah.
At his job. I couldn't believe that.
Yeah.
But Jacob is tough.
Jacob will slap your hand.
Oh, I know.
You gotta be careful there.
I know. I've been there. We got to talk about these coaching interviews too.
Which ones?
Like these introductory press conferences.
Yeah.
What are these guys doing?
I don't know. It's not that hard.
Is this? I could have missed this, but I'm a huge press conference guy. I'm not. I don't know, man.
How you feel? How do you think Dallas is feeling right now?
So why was Jerry crying?
I don't know, man. Jerry's a trip. He may not be firing on all cylinders anymore.
That was weird.
You hear him talk about, I don't know if I can say that on air. I'll ask Shane in the break here because there was a sound clip that I was like, whoa, Jerry, I don't think that means what you think it means.
Who was worse, Glenn or Ben Johnson?
None of it's really good. That's DB. I'm Ravi. Lulla. More Hurrdat Sports Radio next. Welcome back to Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla here on the Pillar Exterior stage and brought to you by our friends over at the NDOT, reminding you, hey, keep those eyes focused straight ahead. I know DB gets a little squirrely and gets a little over here, over there. But when you're listening to us on the radio, make sure you keep your eyes focused and straight ahead on the road. You got one job as a driver. That's to drive, not to try and follow DB's tangents.
I'm not really vibing with
down whatever rabbit hole he's on. This message from the NDOT. Most of it's from the NDOT Highway Safety Office. Some of it is me ad-libbing a little bit there.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can tell.
I'm going to have to go ahead. I had to walk off the stage. I'm cool now, though.
I don't know if you can tell which part was which there. I think I did a pretty good job of weaving that in there seamlessly.
So apparently, I don't know. Kobe, he's got some strong opinions, but are pods out? Like, are we out on pods?
I don't know. I don't have any strong opinions on pods whatsoever. I don't use them, so I have no idea.
Yeah, I still can't believe you haven't graduated from pouring laundry detergent in a cup.
Why wouldn't I?
What do you do with the cup? Do you just let it sit there when it looks all yucky?
No, you rinse it. So you start the washer. You rinse it out when the water starts coming out. You pour that into it.
Okay.
And then you put the thing back.
So you use the water that starts from the from the washing machine to
clean out the thing, and then you get the extra soap into the laundry from it, and then you put it back.
Yeah.
Easy peasy, all done.
I don't know, man. I need to.
Here's the problem with pods: is you get the same amount regardless of how large the laundry load is.
Yeah, you're just not supposed to use more than 2 pods.
Sometimes I'm not washing a full load of laundry, so I can adjust my amount of soap accordingly. Sometimes it's just like, you
wait a minute.
What?
You put stuff in the wash that is like not a full load?
Yeah, all the time. You realize I don't have kids around the house, right?
Then
Where you've
wait.
got,
Then wait, Robbie.
what if I need it tomorrow? Like
Now,
Natasha,
what would that be?
like Natasha washes her work clothes every day.
Okay, that makes
So like
sense.
her chef coat and all that kind of stuff.
Sense.
But we don't always have a full load of laundry for it. So she washes like her whatever, how many items.
Apparently,
Wash it, get out of there.
Kobe's riding with you.
Yeah, Taylor's. I've done that too, but the cup gets a little beat up sometimes.
I like how he went caps. He's had this conversation before.
Taylor says
Taylor has definitely had this conversation
you put
before.
the detergent cup in the washer, run it, and it comes out clean. That's true.
Okay, but
if,
you don't like fishing for it?
No, sometimes the cup.
That's funny.
The cup gets a little beat up, right? Because it's tossing around. So if you don't have like a strong cup integrity.
You know what's funny about this nonsense?
What's up?
17 of the first 31 minutes we've been on air. People have strong opinions about this stuff.
Oh, 100%.
This is funny.
Yeah. They have like real strong opinions.
So you look at me and you say these snarky things to me incessantly during the break. One in which I just wanted to try the old Macho Man move.
Like the people's elbow?
But I don't think that thing can support me.
It might be able to. I just don't know if you have the balance. It's pretty.
No, I get up there now.
It's pretty narrow. No, you get up there. Can you stay up there?
Oh, why do you think I can climb up there?
Because you just told me you could.
Okay.
Obviously.
Yeah. Okay.
You're a Division I athlete. I would hope so. You're not that old, DB. Jeez.
Is that where you were going with that?
Yeah.
Doesn't the cap just, like when you put it back on, doesn't it just drain back into the...
No, Shane, it does not.
Yes, it does.
No, it doesn't.
The ones I do does, or
Like,
the one I have
You're
does.
Division I running back. I would assume you can climb like 4 feet or whatever that is.
No, I think I know what you were inferring.
A good athlete?
Okay. I'll take that.
I mean, pretty versatile.
No. So
Could have played professional baseball. Like
you're getting me distracted because you know you're screwing with my OCD. First of all, Shane, no. The gunk stays on the cap if you don't rinse it, and
That's
you
true.
put it on there, and it's nasty.
And then it drips down the bottle, and
Yeah.
it's gross.
The sauces in our fridge are very, very strategic.
Mhm.
How you get the whatever's in there out matters.
Yes.
Don't do the flip cap with the little hole in the middle,
Mhm.
because whatever you get that comes out of there, inevitably you have to always wash out of your cap. It's mildly disgusting. In my opinion, that's worse than keeping a steak in a Tupperware
It's not
container
worse.
on the oven.
It's not worse.
It is.
You're not getting food poisoning from the stuff.
So you don't mind gunked up Dijon everything bagel mustard because it doesn't come out of the cap clean?
I'm not saying it's my preference. I'm saying it's not as bad as actively leaving food out to go bad.
So Shane, you like really?
I mean, that's gross, Shane. Come on. What happened? That's gross.
He probably doesn't mind the butt crumble that comes off of his
Why is it?
squeeze bottles out of the fridge either. Gross.
You just put the cap on and it all just drains back. It's fine.
No, it doesn't all just drain back. It drains down the side of the bottle, and then your bottle's disgusting.
It doesn't drain down the side of the bottle.
It 100% does, Shane.
No.
I don't think Shane does laundry. What's happening here?
Well, how about the one day he had to wait because his neighbor was giving him the willies? Remember that? God bless you, Shane.
You gotta love it.
That's fine. Kobe with another.
Good morning again.
What up, Cam Bam? Another doozy. Add Cohen to the weird presser mix too.
Yeah. Why are head coaches
Because
so
I think
weird?
they're trying to make a splash. But so according to like Parcells,
Are they trying to be like Dan Campbell, like biting off kneecaps or what?
so according to Parcells, that's exactly who Aaron Glenn is.
Okay.
Like who you saw, like it was funny how he said he texted Rogers. He called him. We texted him that. I was like, man, get that man on the phone. You know he likes to Zoom. Your name is Aaron Pat McAfee Glenn.
I'll say he was probably busy, like being on his McAfee FaceTime.
But they were just weird. So Ben Johnson is like, hey, you better prepare to be. You better get comfortable being uncomfortable, you guys. Like issuing these edicts, and Glenn is doing his thing. Cohen is. I don't even know what that was.
It looked like a Kentucky offensive coordinator. Is what it looked like.
I kind of hope he wins, though.
I mean, for my Trevor Lawrence stake, it would go well, but
it would be. I don't have a thing for Jacksonville, right? I'm the low key, like this is like being the descendant, like 0.5 Genghis Khan. the butt of Jacksonville jokes because I still cheer for the team that Blake Bortles got on a heater and beat in the playoffs as a significant fave.
Yeah.
Which was the second time in my life. Not that I remember the Chargers in 1994 when Stan Humphries beat the Steelers in Three Rivers. And
big Natron Means guy.
Yeah, they pulled off a dub in Pittsburgh in the playoffs. But anyway, we're not
still thinking about that?
No, I'm not on that anymore.
Was that also Neil O'Donnell?
Yes.
Big Neil O'Donnell guy.
Yeah.
You love Neil. That's your dude.
I love Neil O'Donnell because Brendan Stye loves Neil O'Donnell. That's why I love him.
Russell Wilson, what did you do?
Shut up, Shane. And why are they talking about another contract for that dude?
I mean, he was better than expected.
Man, I'll lose my mind.
Well, what else are you going to do?
Fret. Next.
Who's next?
Fret.
Go get Sam Darnold? What are you doing?
Yeah, it's weird how the shine came off that dude. Like, he's not damaged goods.
No, I'm not
Were
even.
you surprised there been any hired? Not. He doesn't. He's not a bridge guy either.
I'm a bridge guy. My question though is, what are you bridging to? That's the question, right? Because if you have a bridge guy and you haven't already drafted the quarterback, so like unless you think Justin Fields someday can become your quarterback in Pittsburgh, like what are you bridging to? You know?
You know, I'm not messing with Kobe this morning.
You know,
you heard how he said Duval, right?
Yeah.
He wants me.
Go ahead and hit it. No! Go for it. I think you can do it.
No.
So unless you've got the guy already in the room that you want to bridge toward, then it's not really a bridge guy. You're kind of just hoping for the best, right? Because if your bridge guy works and you don't already have somebody in the room, then you'll be too good to go draft the next guy.
Well, I gave you the.
You know what I mean?
I gave you the 9 teams in the AFC that all have their quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Still not sure what the other 7 are doing.
I don't either. But my point is, the Vikings were in an unusual situation where they had J.J. McCarthy. They're like, maybe he's not ready. The Steelers don't have that. The Steelers are more where Seattle was when they got Geno Smith. And they're like, well, we hope this works out. We don't really have any other options.
Shane, I can't wait for till you have to cheer for Justin Fields in Vegas.
In Stark Vegas?
You've been spot on. You've been picking the Raiders.
I'm trying to tell you, man. I pay attention.
I'm going to
pretend that that SkyMax did not just say in the stream that he prefers washing dishes by hand. Oh my goodness.
Listen, SkyMax, I ride with you on a lot of stuff. I don't know, man. That and your helicopter are 2 things I am not getting on. More Hurrdat Sports Radio coming up next. Welcome back, Hurrdat Sports Radio. Wrapping up hour number 1. That's DBM Ravi Lulla here on the Pillar Exterior stage at Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill. Coming up on the show today, we should maybe set up the show. I don't know.
We should probably do that.
We've got Kerry Miller coming up from Bleacher Report. Talk a little college.
Terrence J, let's go.
Talk a little college basketball. At 8:30, we're going to talk to Reagan Cooper of the Omaha Supernovas. And at 9, we'll talk to Mike Schaefer, Husker 24/7. Ask him if he's concerned if Rocco's going to get enrolled in time.
We need to ask Schaefer about his own general concerns.
It's Rocco time.
My man is passing stones, which clearly makes him tougher than either one of us. I felt like
What's he passing?
I got hit by Bud a couple times at the gym, and I felt like I passed a stone, but I really didn't. And that's probably the closest I can think of.
Yeah.
But the dude is passing stones.
That sounds painful.
Oh.
Luckily, I have, knock on wood, haven't had to do that yet.
Yeah, I wanted to Google how you get them, but I didn't want to be alarmed. I'm a guy that should not be Googling.
No, you don't want to Google medical stuff.
No.
You're going to end up down a rabbit hole, and you'll be like, I don't want to know.
Yep.
We don't need to know.
I'm 100% being serious. And why did my ding-dong son like Ryan's tweet?
Ryan's funny sometimes.
Dude, and they're like thick as thieves, too. It's disgusting. This dude says, my man RP. He's not your... No, he's Ryan. Well,
yeah.
What are we doing?
He's riding with him.
Oh, clearly.
Yeah.
Clearly.
Just like I'm riding with the SEC.
That's fine. You can take him.
Listen, I'm right. It's fine.
No, you're not.
Yeah, I am. You want to know? Listen, you ready? You ready for some of my math that I'm mathing?
Yeah.
So I'm not even going to use the math I used on you yesterday off air.
Don't make it seem like you Jedi mind tricked me.
I mean, a little bit. I almost had you.
I thought about it. Like, I paused.
Yeah.
Well, I believe you should listen. I believe you should gather all the information before you have a hot take. So I was just listening.
So the numbers are even more dramatic, right? Because if you're going off of
now you have to reset this thing. I mean, we have loyal listeners, probably about 2K online right now.
I just imagine everybody knows what we're talking about at all times.
Yeah, don't do that.
So yesterday, DB asks me in the NCAA tournament if I'm taking.
Ask Cairns.
Yeah, we will ask Cairns.
I wouldn't call him by his full government, though.
I'll probably go stick with Kerry.
Okay, me too.
Like Kerry Gold, the butter.
Fire.
Terrific.
A little overrated. There's a knockoff at Costco. I get about $2 cheaper.
It's the best,
No, you're exactly right.
Around.
Yeah.
Kerry Gold.
Add that $2 towards the charcoal buying spree.
Because you barely go through 3 bags a week.
Relax over there.
So you asked me, you go, hey, are you taking SEC or the field? Now, I'm assuming you mean to win the national championship.
Correct.
Okay. So
because I think all year, every top 10 will have 4 SEC teams in it. Every top 10 from here on out will probably have 4 SEC teams.
I think that's right. And the brackets, at least as currently constructed, are going to be even more dramatic than that. Because I went over to Bracket Matrix, which I enjoy because it gives you a nice conglomeration of all the
I love when you get in the thesaurus.
of all the brackets that are going on here. Here's what I like. So in the history of a 64 or more team bracket, there's been 38 champions. All but 3 of them have come from higher than the 6th seed.
Right. Yeah,
right.
We've
Currently, that means there's 20 teams any given year in the bracket that you've got a real decent shot at winning a national title, right? Currently, according to Bracket Matrix, 8 of those teams are going to be from the SEC. That's 40%.
Mm-hmm.
I will take those 40%, especially because 4 of those 8 will be top 2 seeds. The dramatic, most likely teams to win championships. Yeah. I'm getting half of the most likely teams to win championships.
So I listened to a discussion. It wasn't Fran. I can't remember who it was. Made the argument and was very emphatic that you always take the seed and not the volume in the NCAA tournament for your champion because it's about path of least resistance. Mm-hmm. It's not attrition.
Yeah.
He said always take the seed.
Yeah.
And with the SEC, they're going
to have really great seeds.
They will have tremendous seeds.
You're going to have 4 of the top 8 teams in the bracket are going to be SEC. Most likely are going to be SEC teams. You're going to have Auburn, Alabama, Tennessee, Florida.
I'm definitely listening.
Are all likely top 2 seeds. That's my guess. Yeah. They will all likely be top 2 seeds. I don't think anybody else from the SEC will sneak into the top 2 lines. Kentucky, A&M, Mississippi State, Mississippi. I don't think any of them slip above a 3. But you're going to give me 4 of those teams. And if we're talking about, we've kind of tiered these out, right? Of who we think the best.
So this is probably where I started to listen. Full disclosure, mm-hmm. It wasn't the math. It was, well, how many of what's left over do I actually think can win a national championship?
So let's
you're really only giving me
Duke, Iowa State,
Michigan State.
How much you like Marquette, Purdue,
all the teams I named yesterday. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I'll take my chances there. That's
the only thing that got my attention.
I will take Auburn, Alabama, Tennessee, Florida over the teams we just named.
No and I tried to think of a team. You know, obviously Illinois is in the hunt.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm trying to think of a team that's kind of off the grid that's not off the grid. Because history shows you can't be too far off.
Yeah, you have to be a top 4 seed, basically.
Yeah. So
in all reality.
I just don't know. Like, you go back to our Warhorse picks. I had Michigan, Arizona, and UCLA.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I needed a miracle
in Arizona
from a guy that I can't stand. And Caleb Love. Lovely shot, though. Go back and listen to Fran, though. The ominous foreshadowing. He's like, oh, too far. Like, it wasn't just I would miss this free throw.
Mm-hmm.
He's kind of under his breath doing the play-by-play that they let Love advance too far
mm-hmm.
down the court.
Yeah.
Too far. And it goes in. And then they end up hammering them in OT. But I looked at Arizona. I looked at Memphis.
Mm-hmm.
Teams that I think have some parts. I looked at Houston. I really like Houston. I like Houston more than I like Marquette.
I would agree.
I just worry about Houston's droughts.
Yeah, their ability to go through these scoring.
But they have two guys that shoot over 41% from three.
Yeah, which generally does not go together.
I know.
That was
I know.
kind of my point with Duke a little bit, is you've got some weapons, so to go through those level of droughts is really weird.
And this is dumb because their metrics are good. I don't know if I love Duke like in a 6-game span with how they play. A lot of what they're able to do is because of familiarity within the conference.
I'd buy that.
So you lose the ability with scout.
Sure.
Like the anti-Creighton, if you will.
Yeah.
Right. That's why I actually like Creighton, because
on a short scout.
Advantage Creighton.
Yeah, better than most.
So, I mean, I'm willing to entertain it because of the high seed volume.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. Just the safer play historically is always to take the field. But
I get
now
that.
But the field is not dominating in the numbers now, though.
Yeah.
So I'm not at as much of an advantage.
Because usually when we're talking about this conference or the field, you're talking about maybe 2 or 3 really good teams against everybody else, and everybody else has some good teams too, right? But if I'm looking at this and I go Auburn, Alabama, Tennessee, Florida,
you will be a quarter. You will be a quarter of the top 3 seeds.
Yeah.
You have 4 of the 12.
Yeah. 5. They've got Kentucky as a 3.
I said a quarter.
You're going to have almost half of the 12.
That would be a third. 4 would be a third, Shane.
The number of people like out amongst us in the wild that think a quarter is more than a third terrifies me.
Come on, math, you dick.
That's a real thing.
Shane, what you calling me?
It's better than what Jerry Jones was talking about.
Come on, math, you dick.
I still think that term is taken on a negative meaning. I don't think it originated as what we know it as.
Which one?
The term that Jerry
Jerry
Jones used, yes.
I don't know what else it has meant historically. I know now it's an odd thing to say.
Add Jerry to the presser yesterday to the presser list.
Jerry's been doing this a while.
He was emotional, though.
Probably because it's not going to be all smiles and glory holes.
And all he did was reiterate what you said 3 weeks ago. The guy hires good coaches.
He does. That's why I'm not hammering him for Schottenheimer.
I'm not. It doesn't bother me either.
Like, he might not be good. I have no idea.
Doesn't bother me either.
But outside of Dave Campo, he's hired good coaches his entire time he's on the Cowboys. Now, I know they haven't succeeded to the degree Cowboys coaches want, or Cowboys fans want, but they've been good. All of them have been above 500, except for Dave Campo. And over the course of 30 years, that's hard to do in the NFL. Like, it's hard to do. But back to the point on the SEC, like, I'll take 5 of the top 12. I'll take 8 of the top 20. I sit here and more importantly, in my opinion, because I think I cut off a little sooner than you do in terms of teams I think can win the championship right now. Because I cut off, I think, before. I don't see Marquette winning a national championship. I just don't. I don't see this Michigan State team winning a national championship. So I get 4 of the top 6 in my mind. The only people I'm putting in that category are Duke and Iowa State.
Could you see like a 6-game heater from UConn?
Sure, yeah, but because I've seen it before, so I'm not going to say no. If they can get into that top 4 seed range, which they're not right now,
no.
If they can get there, yeah, why not? Like, I've seen that from UConn before, and I'm not going to count Hurley out no matter how much I dislike him.
Got a little Natalie Imbruglia going on.
You're torn?
Yes.
We'll talk to Kerry Miller from Bleacher Report next. Welcome back. Hour number 2 here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, presented by Centris Federal Credit Union. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla here at Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill, joined now by Kerry Miller covering college basketball for Bleacher Report. Kerry, how are you this morning?
Hey, I'm still waking up after that Iowa State-Arizona game, but I'm good.
Well, we appreciate you joining us bright and early.
We do a pick-up segment at 9:30 every day, and yesterday I had Michigan, UCLA, and Arizona. And as a diehard, and we're going to get to them in a bit, Carolina fan, I've never been more no, yes. Watching Caleb Love hit a 30 or a 50-footer to send that thing into overtime. And I actually think, Kerry, and I'll start right here, Arizona, when playing well, is extremely capable. Where do you think their consistency level needs to be?
Yeah, I mean, they were, very, very questionable in non-conference play, right? They went 6-5 in that loss to UCLA. They just, did not score for, 12 minutes. Same for the loss to
Literally.
Duke. The Wisconsin game was just weird. There were, 97 fouls called in that game. It is what it is. But they've been a completely different animal in Big 12 play. And a lot of it does hinge on Caleb Love, as was the case last year, right? Because he's going to take 12, 13 three-pointers in seemingly every game. Is he going to make 2 of them, or is he going to make 8 of them? That's really kind of the big question for Arizona.
That is so accurate.
It took them a little while to recover from losing Krivas, who was their starting center, but they figured things out. They're a little bit smaller than they thought they would be, but I think that's working with their Love, Lewis, Bradley, the situation they'll get going. And Carter Bryant, their freshman, who I think was a top 20 overall recruit. I don't remember where he was exactly ranked, but he's starting to come along big time, and that's been a difference maker for them as well.
Kerry, so here's the $1 million question with Arizona. How much do you trust a team that goes as Caleb Love goes?
0.0% trust.
Yeah.
I mean, really, right? We've seen too much, right, at this point?
Yeah. I mean, he shot 31% last night. That's what he's shooting for the season. It was quite an adventure to get there. And that's what it's become with him. I mean, obviously, you remember from the tournament last year in their loss in the Sweet 16, Elite 8, whatever it was, he shot 0 for 9 from three-point range, and that's your permanent concern with the Wildcats. I think they're maybe a little bit they're coming along. They're getting better on defense. Earlier in the season, that was a serious concern, but I think they live and die with Caleb Love, for better or worse. And they've talked with Tommy Lloyd about it, and he's like, "Yep, this is who I'm riding or dying with." And so they know what they're doing.
Yeah, I mean, doesn't have a lot of other options at this point. So, Kerry, I'm going to start reading teams off. You stop me when I get to a team that you don't think can win the national championship. Okay?
Oh man, it might go for a while.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Okay. So I'm going to go kind of fast here. Auburn, Duke, Alabama, Iowa State, Tennessee, Florida, Marquette, Michigan State, Purdue, Houston, Kansas, Kentucky.
Okay, I would probably stop at Kansas. I don't know that I believe in Kansas this year. But you got to what, 10?
10 deep. So we're 10 deep.
About right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there's no are there any outliers that I didn't Illinois? Do you have an affinity for?
Or Houston?
Well, Houston.
I said Houston.
Was,
I said Houston.
Yeah, Houston was on the list. That's kind of what I was waiting for, is to hear when Houston showed up, because seed wise they've been questionable, but resume, quality of play wise, they can absolutely win it all. But outliers, I mean, Memphis. Maybe, possibly, kind of, when they decide they're not going to struggle against AAC
completely
opponents. They were
agree.
Awesome in non-conference play.
I said and so where this kind of came from, and we've been going back and forth, and I'm always a take the field guy, Kerry. But we got into this deal yesterday about the SEC and just playing the high seed volume game, where they will occupy maybe a third or 40% of the top 12 overall seeds. And I thought, gosh, I'm always going to take the field. So how many other teams outside of the SEC do I think can win a national championship? And I kind of convinced myself of a couple of outliers, like Memphis on maybe a 6-game heater. I could see UConn because they've done it before. Eventually Caravan will play with a little more consistency. I like Illinois when they're playing well. Who else did I put in there? But my point was, when would you not take the field versus a conference? Is this the first year you maybe wouldn't?
I still would if we're going to SEC versus the field. I mean, just for Duke, Houston, and Iowa State alone, I think that three against the big four from the SEC right now of Auburn, Alabama, Florida, Tennessee. I mean, that's at worst a push. I think maybe having Duke in there the way they've been. I mean, not last night, they didn't play very well, but the way they've been running through the last 2 months of their schedule, I think that they're probably the favorite to win it all. Maybe Auburn is technically the betting favorite. I haven't looked recently, but it's 6 of one, half dozen the other right there. I would say that might be more interesting, Auburn and Duke or the field. That would be a little bit tougher for me than the SEC or the field.
So, Kerry, I'm a SEC honk. This is primarily just because of my love fest with North Carolina, but Duke goes through these inordinate periods of time where sometimes they don't really shoot it very well. They don't score, but most times they have the best player on the floor, and their defensive metrics are elite. How much do you pit that in the fact that the ACC is so down when you look at the way that Duke guards and defends?
Yeah, I mean, they were elite on defense long before conference play began, right? We already talked about the Arizona game. They held the Wildcats to 55 in that game. Even giving up 78 against Auburn, like they played pretty darn good defense in that game. And then now outside of one weird game that Notre Dame was able to score down the stretch, like they've just shut down everybody for a month and a half, 2 months now. I mean, that's why I definitely believe in Duke win it all. It's not because, Cooper Flagg is this elite player. You always worry a little bit about a team that their primary scoring weapon is a freshman. I mean, I know he's probably the best freshman we've seen since Zion Williamson, but you worry about that a little bit. But what they're able to do on the defensive end is what makes them such a threat. And they've been playing without Malik Brown for like 5 games now, and he was making such an impact on defense for them. And he's that guy who, just doesn't shoot at all. Like I don't think he could get the ball like 3 feet from the hoop and nobody's near him and he'd be looking to pass. Like he doesn't even want to try and score. And I feel like you need that guy when you're going to have Cooper Flagg and Con Knippel who do want to shoot every time they touch the rock. So I think that's great for their chemistry. Once he's able to get back, I think that could be a real difference maker for them. So
let me stay in the ACC for a second before I get to Carolina. How much do you trust what Kelsey's doing and Louisville? Because I've said for a handful of weeks, and it's not just because I do have a particular affinity for Chucky just because we grew up here and close with the family. But I like Louisville, and I think they're extremely capable. And they're one of the few teams I actually think is getting, well, maybe a little bit like Arizona, they're actually getting better as the season goes on. You like Louisville?
I do. Their extreme reliance on the three-pointer both scares me in picking them and also scares me to ever pick against them. But I love Pat Kelsey. Like when he was at I was living down in Charlotte when he was at Winthrop. I went to a handful of Eagles games, and it was.
You're a big South guy, Kerry?
Winthrop. What's that?
You're a big South guy?
Well, I mean, they were like 10 minutes away, so I would go every now and then. But no, when he went from Winthrop to Charleston, I was like, that's such a weird lateral move. Like he should have been like that next, the sexy mid-major hire, and he just had to, go prove at Charleston that he was still a very, very good coach before he could get that big job at Lulla. So I'm not surprised that he's succeeding. Maybe I'm surprised that they're this good this fast, but that is a legitimate team. I think they're, no questions asked, the second best team in the ACC. And they came out and they were up on Duke by like 14 early in that game before the Blue Devils woke up. They're like, oh, we got to take Louisville seriously here. What's going on?
So, Kerry, I want to move over to the Big Ten here. Obviously, a lot of local interest with Nebraska, but I want to start at the top with Michigan State because I know what the record is. I know what the metrics look like. For some reason, I still don't love it. Can you help me figure out why I don't believe in Michigan State, or am I just out here in left field?
Well, they don't have that guy, right? There's no Denzel Valentine or anything close to that on this team. They've 9 guys averaging 9 points per game. It feels like that's just their approach. Is the whole is better than the sum of its parts, which I don't like. They're the worst 3-point shooting team in the country almost. I don't understand how they are consistently scoring 80, 90 points in these games without that elite go-to guy. But it's working for them. I assumed we would eventually have some Big Ten team. We didn't know who it was going to be, right? But coming into the season, we thought it might be Indiana that would come in and kind of run away with the league. And even at that point, we'd still have questions about that team because the Big Ten as a whole from the beginning of the year was just like, it felt like a 10-bid league where all 10 bids were going to somehow be 7 seeds. I don't know how that was going to mathematically work, but here they are at 8-0, and we're starting to really believe in them. But it also feels like they could go out and lose to like USC this weekend, and then there'd just be big questions there about what has become the top team in the league.
Kerry, who's the best team in the Big 12?
Oh, man, I mean, metric-wise, it's Houston, but I think it might be Iowa State, even after that loss last night, which was just that game was insane.
And they've been really good at closing too. Like that was not their MO.
Yeah, outside of the game against Auburn, which was just that was, man, what a tough luck there, right? Playing in the first game of the Battle for Atlantis or the Maui Invitational, I forget which one it was, but because they lost that game, they then didn't get to play North Carolina and Memphis like Auburn did. Like Iowa State, if they had been able to not lose on that Janai Broome buzzer beater, maybe they would be the unanimous #1 overall team right now instead of Auburn. But yeah, I think that's a very good team. Obviously, they've been very good on defense under Otzelberger for the last 4 years, but now they can score. Like Curtis Jones is that guy that Michigan State does not have.
Incredible newcomer. He's like most improved player in the country.
Yeah, I mean he's been unbelievable, and it like up until a couple of weeks ago, right? Keyshawn Gilbert was their National Player of the Year candidate. Gilbert was on the Wooden Watch midseason top 25, and Curtis Jones was not. And I was like, I think you guys may have made a mistake here.
And I would make the case, Kerry, that Lipsy may be the most important because he turns you over. Like, they got options.
Yeah, all 3 of those guards are phenomenal. And then they brought in Joshua Jefferson, has been one of the most impactful transfers, got him from St. Mary's. I don't know how St. Mary's is as good as they are without Joshua Jefferson and Aiden Mahaney, and I think they lost another key transfer too, but brought in Jefferson and Jackson. Like now that Jones is at least temporarily in the starting 5 with Momcilovic out, Iowa State's starting 5 is maybe the best in the country, and once Milan's back, that's a really, really good team.
Let me ask you about Carolina, and to go back to the ACC for a second, and it's always weird with these blue bloods and head coaching and coaches in waiting and things like that. And I'm not campaigning against not Miller or somebody waiting. I'm kind of out on Hurrdat Davis. You can only have so many Stanfords and let Boston College take you to the wire at home, and like it's just something's amiss. But it is Carolina, so they fight. Kind of that history. What would you do in Chapel Hill?
I mean, they have been just consistently playing to the level of their competition.
They can't win close games.
Yeah. I think they've had 11 games decided by 3 points or fewer. Also the overtime game against Boston College, 6-point difference, but that's basically a tie,
yeah.
Right? But they've had all these games just come down to the wire, and it's mostly because they can't get motivated out of the gates. Like in the Maui Invitational, that game against Dayton, right? They were down like 20 at halftime, had to come back. They did that so many times early in the season where they just stormed back from digging themselves these early holes. I think they had to do the same in that win over UCLA as well. And just it's like they got to this point where they believed in themselves so much that they could come back that they didn't care if they fall behind. And I mean, yeah, to some extent that's got to be on Hurrdat Davis. I don't know who the next man up is if they did fire Davis, but if you miss the tournament 2 times in 3 years at North Carolina, when you've got guys like R.J. Davis and Ian Jackson and Seth Trimble has been an incredible breakout player. At least he was for the first month or so of the season.
He's been good since he's back healthy from whatever the head deal was. But
yeah, they don't have. It's not North Carolina basketball anymore, right? They don't have the twin towers in the post. Like, they don't even have a tower in the post this year. And that's it's been weird to watch them from that perspective, like how much they're dependent on Davis and Jackson. Just these guards leading the way, but it is what it is now, and I'm not sure where they go from here. And they've got a massive stretch coming up, right? They're smack dab on the bubble, and they've got 4 straight here, 2 against Pitt, at Duke, and at Clemson. Like, they need to win at least 2 of these 4, or they might be done.
Kerry, I want to move over to the Big East here. Obviously, UConn gets a lot of the attention because they're back-to-back national champions, and deservedly so, but they're kind of fallen back in the pack a little bit. Marquette and St. John's, I look at both of those teams. I don't totally trust either of them. I don't know if it's the Kadari Richmond thing at St. John's where, sort of like Caleb Love, I've just seen way too much to feel good there. Where are you at on Marquette and St. John's?
I definitely believe more in Marquette than I believe in St. John's, because we've at least seen Marquette get some quality wins, right? They smoked Purdue early in the year. They won at Maryland. Most of their wins came against the Big Ten, curiously enough, but St. John's hasn't really done anything. They lost to Georgia. They lost to Creighton. I don't think they have a quad 1 win. If they do, it's like it's the road win over Xavier, which isn't even in my projected field right now. That's their quad 1 win. So it's like, I don't know, but they're defending like Rick Pitino teams of yore. I'm with you on Kadari Richmond. Like, is he the guy? And he was great last year at Seton Hall. He's struggled compared to what he was last year. So I have some question marks about them. Whereas like Cam Jones, if I had to take one of 5 players in the country who's going to have the ball in their hands at the end of a tie game, Cam Jones is on that list. So that's a big reason why I believe in Marquette.
And his ability to, because he used to kind of just be this, he seemed to me like this volume kind of shot hunter. His ability to get other guys involved now as he's gotten older, that's kind of been fun to watch because we've seen his shooting. He's getting better shots now too. Yeah,
he was, for Tyler Kolek, he was the guy who was posted up in the corner waiting for him to drive and dish, and now he's the one driving and dishing to guys like Chase Ross and David Joplin. But yeah, he had that when Kolek was out for 6 games toward the end of last year. Like, he got forced into that role and was like so good in it. I don't think we appreciated then what that meant for him moving forward. But yeah, he's one of the best assist rates in the nation, which is wild for a guy who basically was Caleb Love a year ago.
Now there's going to be some guys obviously in the discussion like Jans and Otzenberger, and there are a lot of these coaches, even Kelsey that we mentioned. I think I can say this without logging onto the Homer Network, but what Creighton's been able to do without Pop, the injury, kind of revamping and restructuring what's had to happen in this lineup. If Creighton goes on a heater, which they're very capable of and they're in the process of, where would you put and we're kind of used to it now, especially late with Coach Mack, but this coaching performance has been nothing short of fantastic. Would you agree?
Yeah, I thought Creighton was a mess early in the year. Like, I was all the way out on them during that Players Era Festival. Yeah. Yeah, kind of a weird addition by subtraction thing with Pop Isaacs, right? Obviously they won that Kansas game because of him, but then he leaves and somehow they get better. It defies logic, but they've really been impressive lately. They were, even after that win over Kansas, I don't think I had them in my projected field. Then they lost to that blowout loss to Georgetown. I thought they were done. I thought that was the end for Creighton. And yeah, they've been, at least if your national coach of the year consideration is, who's improved the most in the middle of the season, I think you could absolutely put McDermott near the top of that list.
Kerry, as we got just a couple minutes left here with you, I do want to ask about kind of the overall strength of the Big East. You mentioned, you hadn't had Xavier in the field at certain points. I think the way I look at it is maybe a 4-bid league. Can they stretch it any more than that?
I think they could get 5. Marquette, obviously, and St. John's certainly would be now. At some point, they need to get a quality win to prove they belong. But you're 17-3, you're going to be comfortably in. Creighton and Connecticut are both in, but they're in like the 8-9 seed range, and then Xavier is my fourth team out. They're in the conversation now after the wins over Marquette and Connecticut, and now that they've learned how to win some close games after just giving them away at the end so regularly previously in the year. But that's probably it. Like both Villanova and Georgetown have completely fallen off in the last few weeks. I mean, they could turn things around. There are definitely quality wins to be found, but I think it's if you're setting the over under 4.5, I'd probably take the under, but I wouldn't be surprised if the over hit.
So talk to me about Georgetown a little bit, because that's a team that DB and I have fought about a lot this year. I was never totally sold on them. There was a point where he thought they were pretty good. And I think that also kind of, you mentioned that win they had over Creighton. I think that also informed how we felt about Creighton in that moment as well. What has happened with Georgetown where they got off to the good start and then once they got into conference play have really come back to earth?
Well, for that ugly loss to DePaul, Thomas Sorber was out, and he's one of the 5 best freshmen in the country. He's been phenomenal for them in the paint. They were one of the worst 2-point defenses in the nation last season. Now they're top 5. Like, he's been just this unbelievable difference maker for them. So not having him for that game was catastrophic. And I think that's when he's operating at a high level, like they can be special. But they do have they have a lot of dudes who sometimes don't really show up. Like Malik Mack has days where he looks like a god, and other days he just doesn't at all. I think Micah Peavy is kind of the same way. I mean, he didn't show up in that DePaul game either, which is also why I don't think Jaden Epps was in that game. Like, it took a lot for Georgetown to lose that home game to DePaul. But
Mack is weird. Sometimes it's like he guards himself.
Yeah.
You watch him, because I'm 100% with. Like, sometimes he looks elite. Like, oh my gosh, this guy's he can get to any spot he wants to. And then there's other times it's like, why would he do that?
Yeah, he was. I remember last year, like I maybe watched him play at Harvard like once, but he was like consistently top 10 on like my freshman rankings. Like, he was incredible, just kind of out of nowhere. Like, his really good combo guard, and now he's just not the same guy, at least not consistently. There are days when he looks incredible, and I think Micah Peavy's the same way, especially on the defensive end. Like, I think he had 7 steals in that win over Creighton. Like, he was everywhere. So when those 3 are playing well together, Georgetown's dangerous. They just don't have much depth at all. So when one doesn't show up, it just like lowers their ceiling drastically.
That's Kerry Miller from Bleacher Report. Kerry, we appreciate it as always. Let's catch up again soon.
Thanks, Kerry.
You got it. Take care, guys.
More Hurrdat Sports Radio coming up next. We're back here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, halfway through the show on AM 590 ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla here on the Pillar Exterior stage, and I'm reminding you to go check out our friends at Centris Federal Credit Union. You can go to centrisfcu.org to check out whatever it is you might need. Maybe it's time you need to get some work done around the house and you need some extra cash. You can use the equity from your home to get the cash you need, whether it's a home equity loan or just a line of credit. Centris can help you out, and their experts can tell you what's right for you. They are federally insured by NCUA and an equal housing lender. It's centrisfcu.org. Really good stuff there from Kerry. Appreciate his time.
Yeah, a lot to digest. I'm back to the field.
You're back to the field? That's all right.
I don't even know if I was ever in on the SEC.
I mean, you could be wrong. It's fine.
Well, we'll see.
No, that's all right.
We will see.
It's 100% your right to be wrong. You can do whatever you like.
Oh man.
What I do?
We're just constantly on the fringe of a murder.
Who you gonna kill?
It's very dicey.
What did I do?
I am so glad.
What I do?
I bet when Shane says clear. That's all I know.
See, if 3 minutes you don't have to talk to me.
No, so I can say what I want without fear of repercussions from
That we're actually clear.
Yeah. Is that repercussions or repercussions?
Well, I ain't getting those. DEI is gone.
No more mules and jewels.
I'm still riding with Costco though.
Costco or Costner?
Idiot.
You big Kevin Costner guy.
I am. I like him.
Yeah.
And I don't appreciate that too, because our listeners have no idea what you're talking about, but that was wrong again. That's fine.
What'd I do?
No.
You were talking about Kevin Costner in the break.
No. You're making fun of the fact that you don't think I can hear. But it's fine.
No, you said you can't hear.
I said I just took my headphones off. Give a little grace.
Give it a little bit, like Supertramp.
You were talking a lot about Dances with Wolves.
No, I wasn't. You were.
Waterworld.
You guys like. I'm just gonna go ahead and not tell the truth. A lot of Tim Johnsons around here this morning.
I like Waterworld, but I mean, that's just me.
Lot of Tim Johnsons.
Not a big Waterworld guy. I like dry land.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm out.
What do you mean? You have a boat?
Yeah, but like for a lake, I'm not trying to live there. I'm not trying to live on the boat.
Big Madeline Stowe guy, Shane?
I don't know who that is.
Yeah, I like her.
Madeline Stowe?
She was in 12 Monkeys. She was in Last of the Mohicans. She's in Revenge.
Revenge, great movie. Anthony Quinn.
Gonna have to Google.
Madeline, you know Madeline Stowe.
I know. I probably know who she is, but I just don't recognize the name right off the top of my head.
Yeah.
I actually don't know who that is.
Really?
Yeah, I don't think I've seen a movie with her in it. Maybe I have. I don't know.
Interesting.
No, I realized I haven't seen that many Kevin Costner movies.
I'm a big Kevin Costner guy. None of the bad movies Shane referenced. I know you say they won awards. That's fine.
But
Well,
you like
Dances with Wolves did.
Yellowstone.
Waterworld did.
Never saw Yellowstone. Never saw Dances with Wolves, and I never saw Field of Dreams.
I low key. Okay, so we agree on For Love of the Game.
Great movie.
Love For Love of the Game.
Yeah,
one of my faves.
Yep.
I low key. I know people hate on it. I like Draft Day.
I've never really seen it start to finish. I cannot.
Like, there's some silly things that would never really happen, but it's a movie. I can kind of suspend disbelief there. I kind of like it. I kind of enjoy it.
I don't know enough.
You saw the clip on your TikTok.
I did just last night.
It was pretty good.
Yeah. Don't watch me. Watch him.
I like Chadwick Boseman.
That's what happened after the 4 sacks.
Black Panther.
Hey, I need you to get off social media. General managers don't want to see that. I was like, ooh, what are they talking about?
R.I.P.
I can't tell you how many times TikTok has gotten me to watch a random movie.
I think
they weren't going to get me there, though.
Basically, all the movies that you watch are just random suggestions from TikTok these days.
That's not true.
We're going to talk to Reagan Cooper here in just a little bit from the Omaha Supernovas. She got a unique connection to Nebraska, so maybe we'll ask her about that. We'll see.
Yeah, I don't want to dominate her success and her accolades by talking about her father, but man,
I mean, it's worth bringing up. It's kind of cool.
I did affectionately dub him Super Coop. He was terrifying.
Yeah.
Oh,
in a good way, I assume.
I mean, he fit kind of, for Nebraska historians. He was the guy that would have really, really, really benefited from playing in the next era. The Tyrone Birds, the Reggie Coopers, the Curtis Cottons, those kind of monster deep hole safeties.
Like giant safeties?
Yeah, that would have been second level guys.
It would have been linebacker today.
Yeah, he was terrifying.
Yeah.
God, he brought drama.
I feel like you got a little PTSD.
He ain't hit me. I just would watch him at practice kill guys.
Joining us now on the phone is Reagan Cooper of the Omaha Supernovas. Reagan, how are you this morning?
I'm good. How about you?
Reagan, I am so good. And I got to give you your respect just because you're so accomplished in your own right. But the former Nebraska guy in me that saw Pops play and practice 1,000 times, the guy we affectionately dubbed Super Coop, was he or is he still as terrifying as he was in the late 80s, early 90s?
I feel like if he were to go on the field right now, I think he'd still terminate.
Is he still like this specimen?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's wild. That is absolutely wild. He's got to be 54, 55.
I believe he's 56. I could be wrong.
That's fine. I don't know how my mom sees herself.
DP barely knows how old he is, so it's fine.
It's not true. So I mean, so how are you enjoying this? I mean, Miss Nova, it's like the successful first year team. There's so many new additions. Everybody fits right in, man. How's it been so far?
So far, so good. I've meshed with the team really well, and I mean, I've been a part of a lot of teams in my career, so I'm not unfamiliar with coming into like a new environment and having to gel with a bunch of new people. But it's been really easy. I love the team. The coaching staff is amazing, and I like Omaha so far. It's really cold. I'm from Texas, but I like. I've had a good time here so far.
Here I am begging for snow, and you're talking about it, like it just snowed in Dallas, and we can't get a drop. I like the Four Seasons. That used to be what makes us special. But hey, I mean, you were in Kansas too. Like you
It can't be that much colder.
It can't be
than
that
Kansas.
much colder.
It just feels colder here. I don't know. Like, I don't know why. Maybe because it's dry, like super dry here. I don't know. It's been tough. I also have a dog that I walk 3 times a day, so I'm forced to go outside. I feel like I've developed a lot, specifically with my serve receive and my back row defense, because I wasn't playing 6th row throughout my college career. So for about 5 years, I wasn't even serving as well, mostly because of my shoulder. So last year, it was really tough having to just adjust to the 6th row position, but all of the veterans were super helpful, and they're just as helpful here as well. They know my situation, and I feel like I've developed in that aspect of my game a lot. So I'm feeling more confident this season.
You got to help me, because there's so many of you ladies. You're accomplished. We had just mentioned All-America status in college. An ROY a year ago in Ohio. It's like, you have to fit in and know your role, but the rotations and kind of being other-centered with being so star-studded, how much of that is natural? Is it a learning process? Like, getting in where you fit in when you're already accomplished can be tough.
Yeah, for sure. And at this level, there's a lot less subs than in college. There's also a smaller roster.
Yeah.
So it's like, if you're on the final 14. If you're put on the court, like, you're expected to perform to the highest level, because there aren't as many subs in college that can come in for you. That's why, right sides play all the way around in this level, which is not the case in college. Both outsides play all the way around, all 6 rotations this level, which is also not a thing in college. So there's more pressure and there's more expectation, and so you have to lock in every game, because the bench isn't as deep. So it's tough.
Reagan, we appreciate you joining us. Say hi to your dad, Super Coop for DB. Say hi to your precious little pit bull for me. And
I will.
Good luck on Friday. We'll see you out at CHI.
All right, thank y'all so much.
That's Reagan Cooper from the Omaha Supernovas. Make sure you get to supernovas.com to get your tickets for this Friday. Supernovas are back at home at CHI Health Center. More Hurrdat Sports Radio coming up next. And sororities, Husker athletics, arts and culture, pretty much everything you can think around campus, trying to make sure campus feels like home for Husker students. Glow Big Red is February 12th, starting at noon on February 12th, concluding noon on February 13th. The goal for 2025 is 5,500 gifts, and I know that we can get there. There'll be an exclusive giveaway as well. If you give more than $75 during the Glow Big Red, you'll receive a pair of Husker fleece mittens as well. We're going to get our hands on a pair of those, no pun intended with the mittens there, so we can show you next time we talk about it. But make sure you check out all the information that you need at glowbigred.unl.edu to support the University of Nebraska. I know you're a big fan.
100%.
Got to support those students and student athletes all around.
As starting school last week.
Yeah, it's a last day of enrollment. It's a big deal. Don't forget.
Well, kinda.
It is a big deal.
Yeah, those guys, their workouts are off to a really good start too. It's interesting how they've done the groups and stuff, like the pairings, and to have guys not like read into that, right? Just do your thing. It's based on schedules. Like, we're gonna need a couple. I need a couple of these guys that are not fringy but very capable. That feel like
to step up.
Yeah. Yep. There's a couple of those guys I would really appreciate next leveling, because what they're going to figure out is, with a 105-man roster, you have to practice a little bit different. So you need to prepare now. Put money in the bank now so you can spend it later.
How so? How do you need to practice?
But because you don't, like, for instance,
you mean the players need to practice different, or the coaches need to structure practice differently?
They're going to have to structure practice differently, and as a player, you're going to have to manage.
You got to perform
your workload.
Okay.
Right. Let's say like we don't agree on running backs, right? Some people think 6 is a lot or 7's
Sure.
a lot. I'm just going to take running backs for instance.
Okay.
I'll tell you how the math works.
Mhm.
You ready?
I'm ready.
Let's say you only carry 7 running backs.
Okay.
7 out of 105 is a fairly decent percentage.
Mhm.
Some will put you in the 5-6 range.
Mhm.
How would you structure practice to not only get your guys ready to play, but practice in such a way where you can get your other unit ready too?
Okay.
So it's not just getting your offensive guys ready. It's you need to have guys that can get your defense ready and not have it be at the workload's expense, but you can't cheat the system either. So you need a certain amount of numbers
Sure.
to function efficiently, or you have to get creative with what your practice format looks like.
So
Let's say
what
you
does
only,
that look like?
well, that's up to them. It may have to be a little bit more NFL-ish,
Okay.
right? Where you don't have the volume of numbers, so you situationally prepare. Because you can't go like 4 or 5 groups.
Right. You don't have
You just don't have
the bodies for it.
But the trade-off is your bottom is inherently going to be significantly closer to the top because
Sure.
you don't have the variance.
The breadth of roster.
Right? So we in our heads we're like, oh, get down to this number. This group should have this number. You still have to be able to function at practice.
Right.
And it's going to be brand new.
Which that's fair because I think most of the time, at least when
Do you think about it like that?
No, so the way I was thinking about it, just full disclosure, was I was thinking about it from games, from a game standpoint, right? Okay, if I need this number of guys in a game, and I feel like that number for running backs is probably 3, maybe 4 at the most, and then I've got a couple in terms of leeway in case a guy gets hurt, right? I'm looking at it from a offensive line standpoint, right? We talked a lot about offensive line. I would love it, and you said this was a little pie in the sky, and you might be right.
I don't even use that term.
It was the sentiment.
That sounds like something you would say.
It's pie. It's in the sky.
By the way,
what's up?
Never mind. I don't want to get you distracted. I would not use pie.
That's just the term. That's just the phrase.
No, I understand. But why pie? Is pie immaculate and I didn't know?
No, because it rhymes. Pie in the sky. It's just because it flows.
It's definitely.
I mean, what do you want? You want like cobbler in the sky? What do you want? You want
Now, the funny thing about that,
creme brulee in the sky? Like, what are you doing?
I was going to say culturally, I would be much closer to a cobbler.
I wasn't even doing that. I really wasn't.
In the cumulus kind of thing than I would be pie in the sky.
Not going to say the other thing I was thinking.
Of course you weren't. You say things like hunky dory.
No, I'm just saying that's the phrase. I don't care what you want. Cake in the sky. I don't care. Whatever you want it to be. Now, if you have your ideal situation, I would love it if you could go 2 deep on the offensive line, which you said is probably a little idealistic. That's fine, but I'm
not saying it is.
It's just harder to do. It's hard.
Just ask yourself, when's the last time Nebraska could play 10 offensive linemen and you felt good?
Fair.
We freaked out over 3 new starters last year and they didn't skip a beat.
That's totally fair. But so let's say you've got a 2 deep on offensive line, then you probably would love it if you've got kind of 5 guys that are young and developmental and 5 guys that are about a year away, because it's probably about a 3-year process ideally on offensive line.
Yeah.
So
2.5 right now. I think we're probably averaging.
Yeah.
With
so
Coach Raiola.
You've got your 10 guys that can play, 5 guys that are a year to a half a year away, and 5 guys that are young. So that's how I was thinking about it, is in the terms of long-term development and in-game. I wasn't thinking about it on day in, day out practice, which is a mistake on my part.
Yeah, because you have to think about it like that. Because if you're developing, like, guys have to get better every day. And how are you doing that? Like, it was woefully low. Remember when Coach Frost got here, and there were these stretches where you'd have like 14 or 15 defensive backs, and we thought 12 receivers was low. And how you had to manage the workload for wide receivers getting reps because 12 was tough with the rigor.
So can I go back and get the receivers thing for a minute?
Go back and get it from when, and then
from when we thought 12 was low, back in the Frost era.
Okay, that's fine.
I think
yes, you can go back and get it. I grant you permission.
Gracias.
De nada.
I think part of that was the construction of the 12, which I think is going to be a key difference with the 105, right?
Do tell.
So part of the reason we get uncomfortable with the 12, which is still probably low.
It's low.
It's low. But part of the reason we were more uncomfortable with that 12 versus we would be with, say, 14 or 15 now, is because I think we're assuming 1 through 14 or 15 are scholarship guys now. Part of the problem when we were looking at 12 before is we're seeing 9 scholarship guy and 3 walk-ons. It's like, okay, we really only have 9.
I will entertain that.
You know what I mean?
I thought that is
so it's like you feel like you've got 9 even though the number's 12.
Valid.
And now it's like, okay, all 14 are going to be scholar. Like there's not like walk-ons are gone basically.
See, I don't know.
I mean, in the sense that we had them before, it's gone.
Okay.
You may have some guys that would have been walk-ons.
I feel like I'm being a little more diplomatic than I normally would be with you, but I can appreciate the way that you're in the court of law phrasing the question because it forces me to acquiesce.
Look at you. That's an SAT word. I appreciate that. What?
I'm going to punch you right in your soup coolers. God. This whole morning has been a struggle.
What else? Just giving you your props. That's a good word. Good word choice.
You know the whole backhanded compliment thing?
No.
Like, are you going to punch me in the face?
It's just my tone.
B-Mac, I need you, man. I'd like to tag out.
Benny or Bernie?
Well, you're not going to let that coat thing go, huh?
It was pretty funny.
Coatney? Yeah. Oh, yeah, he's hilarious.
It was pretty funny. Comparing Benny Mac to Bernie Mac might be like the biggest adventure of people I've ever seen in my.
Both funny guys.
Exactly. Both hilarious.
One is still with us.
Similar initials.
Yes.
I think so. Yeah.
I think so too, Benny Mac. But no, we're going to look at these numbers differently because before, when you looked at a number, you had to bake in guys that you never felt like were probably going to play.
Right.
Right. So if you're looking at a wide receiver room with 12 guys, you're like, okay, 3 of those guys probably should never play theoretically. And then you go, okay, so I really need like 16. Now you can say, I need 15.
Yeah. We were hand wringing like
what happens when
Brody Belt and Tyhan, even though I was a huge Brody
Belt but guy. Most people were like, I don't want that guy on the field.
Right.
Most just common fans are like, I'd prefer we had better options. Right. And so you're kind of doing some hand wringing. Some people were even like that with Bullock. And it's like, okay, he's been pretty good. But, there's a lot of hand wringing when you get to a point where you feel like you have to play walk-ons, which is it's sort of ironic here because you're
going to have to kind of get that sentiment out of your head, though, because the 105 going forward is just the 105.
Right. That's what I mean.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we're going to graduate from the term. Because we're going to have to get it in our head. We don't care how they got there. They're there.
Yes.
So you have to use everyone.
And that's what I mean. Like when you're at the 105, you feel like everybody's there for a reason, right? Whereas before, and it maybe wasn't fair to the coaching staff, but you'd be like, sometimes they kind of just will put a guy here or whatever, or bring a guy in for bodies or whatever the case is. When you're running with 140, 150, you have to figure 30 of those guys should never play, minimum. Right. And so we have to look at it differently now. Everybody on the 105 at some point should be able to play. Right. Like,
yeah. Ideally.
Like that's
how you have to.
Like if you're on the 105, you better be there for a reason.
You got to contribute. Yep.
Whereas you could be part of the 150 and just be there for some cool gear.
Yeah.
Like really.
I'll be curious to see what happens with the evolution of practice format.
Coming up next, we've got our guy, Mike Schaefer from Huskers.
See if he has some ideas.
24/7. I'm sure he does. He's a bright guy.
Very much so.
And he thinks a lot.
Yeah.
That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla. More Hurrdat Sports Radio coming up next. Kicking off hour number 3 here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, presented by Centris Federal Credit Union. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla. We'll be joined here by our guy, Mike Schaefer, in just a minute. We were having, I mean, kind of a dumb conversation.
It's not dumb.
I mean, it's silly.
I'm going to ask Schaefer.
We will ask Schaefer. So we were talking about, DB was talking about ribs this morning, and then somebody was throwing some gochujang sauce at him on Twitter on what to put on ribs. And so I sat there and I thought,
I said, if I can get an Asian hint to something,
yes,
that's my answer to sauce.
And I said, if I had to choose one category of food to eat for the rest of my life. Asian's a strong contender.
No, I understand.
Then we were debating what counts as like what qualifies under the Asian food, because I think you have to separate Indian, because otherwise it's way too easy.
Correct.
If I get like Indian and pad thai and all that kind of stuff all under Asian food, it's a no-brainer.
Mike J. Well, there's two things I want to ask you. One is kind of unrelated. Well, they both are. One's very related to you because
I was excited to see how related things could get.
No. So this is interesting because you like to cook, and you I like the family aspect of you because like there's this leftover thing, and you're in the kitchen, and Shelby's got this cool dynamics, right? Huddy's gonna have to learn to eat, and you're gonna be like, you're gonna eat what's on your plate. I want to see if you're that guy. I don't know. You seem kind of soft, but he's like, yeah. If you could,
I absolutely hate food time. Like I don't like
Do
watching
you?
him be messy. I don't
this is hilarious.
I don't. It bothers me on a lot of levels.
Yes.
And then like he'll push his food off the plate, and I'm just supposed to be like, okay, so who cleans that up? It's me. It's me, right? Like I'm the one. You're just sitting here in the chair having a good time, but I'm the one cleaning that up. This is how this works. Here's another scoop of mac and cheese. Let's see how far you toss this one across the room.
Yesterday, I'm not making her anything different. She better learn to eat this. And then it turns into a knockdown drag out.
And then you make her something different.
Yeah, she's the only one that had orange chicken. And I convinced myself that, well, since I kind of use Asian sauce on the country ribs, it's in the family.
It's not really making her anything different. Except he's like, yeah, you got to get ahead of it early, and then proceeds to tell you a story about how it did not matter that he tried to get ahead of it early.
Schaefer, it's just easier with boys to be mean. So just keep you stay with it. You keep fighting the good fight so it doesn't get away from you. But I do have to ask you though, like if you only had to pick one kind of ethnic food group and your rest of the lifing it, like what are you going with?
Ooh. One kind of food group.
Oh, I think we
lost his volume. We lost his audio.
Uh-oh.
No, am I not here
I
anymore?
want to hear this. How did we
Where
just
did I
lose him
go?
just then?
I have no idea. Shane,
Where
can you
did I
call
go?
him?
I'll call him.
We're having some troubles with StreamYard this morning.
Poop.
So here's the other thing I was thinking about with Asian food, though, is you lose breakfast.
Yeah. But they eat breakfast. We just would have to.
I get that, but when
I think of like you lose like bacon, you lose breakfast sausage.
Yeah,
I mean, they make eggs, clearly.
that's true, but I don't really think of Asian food when I think breakfast food,
Yeah.
Now, if you went Mexican, you get some good breakfasts in there. There's
I could keep chorizo.
Yeah, you get a lot of you get your chorizo, your sausages back in there, which is good. Not a lot of bacon still though.
Mm-mm.
I don't even. Where would you get bacon? Just like an American?
I don't know. I kind of like the Asian thing, but I lose cheese unless it's tofu.
Tofu's not cheese; it's soy.
I could turn it into something.
Paneer is cheese.
Isn't that? That's not.
It's
That's
different.
you.
Yeah, it's
Not-
Indian.
Okay. I didn't mean you. I meant. Sorry.
Like you people? Like what's going on here?
We got him. We got him, Shane.
We'll come. Wait,
Yep, we got it. Mike J, you there?
Schaefer, you there?
Oh my! There he is. I can hear him. Mike
What's
J.
up, Schaefer?
Where do we go? We lost 3 minutes of Mike J time, which is I'm very upset about. But what would you go with?
This is a really difficult question because I don't know how stuff gets grouped. But there's a part of me that just wants to. Can I just take like Tex-Mex and then I still get like Americanized breakfast burritos at places like Abelardo's or something?
Yeah.
Kind of get everything into it.
I would,
100%.
that's actually creative, and I would like to have all my options open, but I probably still wouldn't pick Tex-Mex.
Tex-Mex is on the table, I think.
I think I'm going to go Tex-Mex as lame and as, whatever as that sounds. But it encompasses a lot of what I want to eat, and I still think you get a good variety in there.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, I do think getting like versatility is key if you're pigeonholed into one group.
All right, now last one before we get to like Rocco's and practice schedule and how to maximize 105s, Mike J. Do you have a pain equivalent to passing kidney stones?
I have nothing. That was the worst pain and I haven't passed it that I know of. Like that was just a pain that got me into the ER to learn that I had the kidney stone.
Ooh.
As far as I know, it hasn't passed yet. the pain has been nowhere near what it was Thursday morning at like 3:30 when I'm sitting in ER. But it's, there's still just like a level of uncomfortableness that'll pop up a couple times a day. But it's pretty great when they give you the range of 8 hours to 28 days. That's the range to pack the kidneys.
OMG. So what do you do to manage it in the meantime?
They give you some medication. I mean, there's definitely, you can take pain relievers or whatever, but if I don't have the pain that I have on Thursday, it's manageable in that regard. I mean, I'm basically just trying to drink a bunch of fluids, stay hydrated, just do what you normally do, and then just hope that eventually it works its way down and passes. I mean, the urologist I saw compared it to Plinko, so I got that going for me.
Oh, that was a great game. I don't mean to make light, but that was like one of my favorite games.
Plinko was my favorite. Plinko was my favorite.
I think it's like, other than the yodeling one, I think it's like everybody's favorite game of Price.
Ooh, the yodeler's a good one.
Golly, man, we're kind of vibing. All right.
Yeah, there's a lot of Prices Right when you were 10 years old in the summers, in 1997. So,
Schaefer, let me ask you, how many times do you think guys register at a school knowing that they can always not attend said school if they want to beat registration deadlines?
It definitely happens. I mean, we've seen guys appear as students in Nebraska's system just because they've registered at multiple different schools. I mean, the most famous example of that recently, Darnay Holmes registered at Nebraska, Ohio State, UCLA, and I forget who his fourth school was. But he basically had all the paperwork and everything done, and then he was set up with what his classes would be, and then basically made his announcement at the Army All-American game at that time, and it ended up being Ohio State, and withdrew from the other places. Or no, it was supposed to be Ohio State. It ends up being UCLA, withdraws from the other places, and then goes to UCLA. And so, in the portal, I could see where a guy would just do all the paperwork or whatever the minimum is, and then you have that sort of done, and then you can drop everything as you need it. I don't know how that exactly works. Obviously, with the guy that's visiting here this week from Notre Dame, he's on a short time crunch to kind of make a decision. That's the difficulty of having that national title game when it is, and then guys wanting to hit the portal to see what their value is, or they can go be a starter somewhere else or what have you. And so he's on a time crunch, and I think Michigan's involved, Indiana's involved. There's a few different schools, but Nebraska getting them on campus, I think, is a big step in the right direction.
Schaefer, obviously people have made a lot about bringing in another transfer offensive lineman potentially, but where is that on your priority list, especially considering Rocco would be an interior lineman and not a tackle, the way I assume wouldn't be moving to tackle here, the way most people wanted an additional tackle in addition to Pritchett. Like, where does that land for you in terms of a priority?
Like from the beginning of the portal, or like where Nebraska is at now with everything I know that they do?
Oh, that's good.
Right now with where their roster is.
I think it's good depth. Like, I don't think it's anything to sneeze at. I don't think it's anything that changes your win-loss projection total. I don't know that it's a guarantee that someone would come in from the outside and definitely be a starter as an interior offensive lineman unless they come with a wealth of experience. I think Nebraska's strength for their line is probably the interior aspect of it, so I don't know that it's the biggest need. But it's another body, and so if they've determined that that's the most valuable use of their time, for me, and I think Damon knows this because I text him about it, the thing that I keep coming back to is Nebraska's playing a three-man front, and we don't know that they are. But if Nebraska's playing a three-man front, am I comfortable that they have a real nose guard, nose tackle, that type of player? I don't know if Riley Van Poppel is. I envisioned him more as a Tyrod. Now, whether that's accurate or not, we'll find out the more he plays. But I am fascinated that Nebraska has gone to sort of a three-man front look since 2017. And you can probably count on just a couple fingers how many guys have been able to play that critical spot in the middle of a defensive line. I just don't know that they have enough bodies there. But you have one injury there. Like if it's not Riley Van Poppel, like are we talking Elijah Judy? Are we talking Sualafotu? Like who's the next guy in the middle of your defensive line? I would have thought that would have been a very easy. Let's at least get a body. We've got someone that we can put in there, and that's a tough position to recruit. Like they've really struggled finding the right mix of people for the interior defensive line. That's sort of the one area where I'm just like, man, I just don't know. But if you're not playing a lot of three front looks, maybe you don't need that as much. That's sort of the curiosity that I have.
You know, it's interesting. I'm glad, like, again, one of the reasons I like talking, you genuinely really, really get into the nitty gritty of football and stuff like that. So it makes me think, like, when you ask me those questions, I immediately think, Schaefer, not necessarily guys, but style of play, right? So if I don't, like, what would I do if I don't have a 310-pound run stopper? Well, I may put guys on the move. I may slant. I may pressure. I may do some different things if I want to gap teams out if I can't occupy. And I think, Mike J., I really do, Butler strikes me as this type of guy, and I just don't know enough yet to know if it was bowl preparation or this is how he wants to be. Like, he strikes me as a pressure guy. So if he wants to be a pressure guy, maybe he puts lighter, quicker guys on the move. You know what I mean? So maybe you don't need maybe you don't need to hold point as long, because when I look at guys like Judy, who I think is probably like DT1 or DT1A next to Van Poppel, or Keona Davis, or even Van Poppel, who's, I think, uber quick, uber twitchy for a guy that's that big. I think he may put these guys on the move more.
So then you're stunting, slanting.
Yeah, maybe I don't have to be as, girthy. Because I've always kind of thought the last 10, 12 years, Nebraska was too big on both sides of the ball, given what the Big Ten was doing, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, the hard part for me is that get out of the mindset, and it's more of a me thing, but I can't get out of the mindset that Nebraska's defense in 2021 and arguably 2023, the 2 years where I think they looked the best defensively throughout the totality of the season, largely came when you had a guy like Nash or Damon just wrecking shop up the middle the way that they did. Now, they're very different. The way they did it was different. But I just think Nebraska has to find a way, whether it's against the run or in the pass, to have pressure come up the middle. And you have to have a guy who can collapse the interior of someone's offensive line in the Big Ten if you're going to run the style of defense that they do. And I'm a big Riley Van Poppel guy. That was my number one in that class. And I think they would have been better off not redshirting him for all the reasons that I don't think red shirts really are going to provide the value down the line that they used to. I'm just skeptical that he can be that kind of guy for them to have the sort of disruptive defense that those were. I mean, you remember what Damian Daniels did for a JoJo Doman and for Nebraska's second level. Like, those guys ran free. And 2023, I felt like Nebraska's linebackers, again, benefited heavily from – I thought Nash was a lot better in 23 than 24. I think health is a big part of that. But I just think, like, can Riley Van Poppel be that guy? And then the other thing is, do you have enough bodies? But if you have different ways to get there, great. I'm just a little skeptical of it because we've just seen Nebraska throw guys into that spot and struggle with it. Like, that's not an easy position to play.
Schaefer, how much of our kind of fixation on interior offense or interior defensive linemen sort of being game wreckers and wrecking shop, I think is how you put it, is a result of the fact that Nebraska hasn't had edge guys on the defensive line that do really much of that at all over the last since 2017.
I think that's a big part. I think we've also just seen Nebraska get run on up the middle a fair amount over the last 8 years when they've kind of gone through their struggles, and so that stands out as well. But yeah, they haven't had great edge players. They've had disruptive, high quality defensive line, but they haven't had you haven't had like the Randy Gregory type, which is rare, but it just doesn't feel like Nebraska has had that coming off the edge. Now, Ty Robinson provided an entirely different experience, and that's more of what Nebraska's defensive line is theoretically going to look like. You know, as Damon was talking about John Butler and what he might be looking for, I just kept thinking about watching, you know, the Buffalo Bills defensive front with Ed Oliver and all of those guys. And
and another lighter, quicker guy.
That's a super unique cat, though. Like, I mean, you remember when he was at Houston and how good he was?
And we wondered if he was going to be the one gap guy or the two gap guy.
Right.
That's a great pull.
And now it's like,
great pull.
You can put Ed Oliver anywhere on a defensive line. He's going to win. He's that good.
Yeah, we literally critique that guy coming out of Houston. I'm like, he can't be blocked. What difference does it make?
I think he fell to like pick 13 or 14 in a draft where it seemed like he was one of the 5 best players, you know, if you just look at what they were doing in college. But so when you were talking about that kind of made me think about it from a little bit different perspective. You look at the Bills and they had the Iowa kid as well on their edge. Like they've had some unique defensive lines, which is sort of an unsung part of their success defensively, you know, whether it was Leslie Frazier initially or what they have now. And so that does make me wonder if they can get to the same type of thing, just utilizing different body styles than maybe I was anticipating, or the traditional of what you have in the middle.
You know what it makes me think of? The whole Gerald McCoy versus Ndamukong Suh thing, where it was kind of the one gap, two gap thing. And is he you know what I mean? Like, so maybe now these D-line can train in such a way where we don't have these kinds of conversations of guys coming out of college. You know what I mean? Where if
they can play multiple across,
or stylistically, you can play a certain way behind them, so it's not as big of a deal initially on if you can or can't do something. Are you a gap guy? Do you need to be in a shade? Can you play head up? Like maybe you don't have to go through that. As maybe you can line up head up and put them on the move, or line them up in a gap in like a 1 or a 3.
You have me thinking here. Would you say that the type of linebacker that you want to play is entirely dependent on the style of defensive lineman that he has in front of him?
Yes. I
don't know that I thought about it in that sense, and I don't know that everyone thinks about it in that sense either. But when I'm talking about what Damian Daniels was doing, it makes life a hell of a lot easier for a Luke Reimer to have a Damian Daniels.
Oh, it totally matters where, if I just take if I move Christian Jones inside last year with that front 3, he's definitely a different inside linebacker last year than he is this year, where we had to put lighter, younger guys on the move more than we did a year ago. Right. So yes, the short answer is yes. I think how you can play on the second level is totally dictated by what's happening up front.
So then you have to have a good variety of body types on the second level.
Yeah, I mean, Ray Lewis was a Hall of Famer, but they're experimenting a 3-4. He was miserable, right? I mean, it's like odd front, guards are uncut. Look at Barr. You saw it firsthand in Minnesota.
I mean, if you didn't have to put him in coverage, he was okay.
So
I would stop well short of calling him good at any point in his career, but he was at least okay.
That's why guys like McCullough are interesting. Like that's why I think he's a second level guy. I don't think he's a rover. I don't think can play on the third level. I think he's a second level guy because he's disruptive potentially when he's on the field, and you can play him a multitude of ways. You can put him on the move. You can say pick a spot and go. Like, I think he helps you not need, if he's on point, he helps you not have to have a guy anchor point at the nose. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I know what you mean. I don't know if Nebraska can pull it off in practice. Those are going to be two entirely different things. From what we're describing, it sure seems like Nebraska is going to look or more different defensively than maybe what you might have thought, given that they retained a coach from the same defensive staff to be the defensive coordinator.
Would you see how many pressures they brought in the bowl game? Like, that's why I'm curious how they're going to practice with the numbers, right? If you only have 7 or 8 backs and people think that's a lot, like you still have to get your guys ready and your defense ready, and then or you have to cross-train both without compromising workload. Like the ability to practice is going to be fascinating.
Yeah, and then of course you're obviously limited, so you have to maximize that time of which you're actually allowed to be out there practicing. So if you have 2 guys at the position group that you're talking about are both nicked up, you're even lighter than you were before. You can't grab one of the
like what if you don't have Booth and Parker one day at practice or something, and like those guys aren't in the immediacy role of playing? Is it like who's the defense going to practice against?
Yeah. No,
hypothetically, I've just used those 2 because they're young.
And so it does make it certainly is going to make things interesting. Now, you could counter that argument with there's a lot of teams that haven't had 140 players on their roster and still have managed to practice successfully and then go have success on the field, so we don't have to make a mountain out of this. But it certainly will be unique as to how they change their style.
Yeah, and I mean, the NFL's been practicing with less than...
But it's different, though, and they give up a little physicality.
Yeah, and maybe that's what we'll see.
And they're also in the NFL.
Correct. You don't have to worry about whether your 1 or 3 technique is going to do his job. You either bench him or you cut him and you go get a new guy.
Yeah.
I mean, if he's not doing his job, it's a very drastically different outlook than finding the freshman that you determine early on can't do the job either.
Yeah, good point. Good point.
Schaefer, as we kind of wrap up conversation here, obviously with the visit of Rocco Spindler, are you anticipating any other additions before spring ball, or is this kind of either this is it or we're done here?
For me, this seems like it's going to be it, and then we'll see where Nebraska's at after the spring. If they have enough guys leave, that they'd have a spot or 2 that would be available. Yeah, it's looking at the roster, like I said, for me, it's interior defensive line, and then it's probably the running back position or the 2 where I would be curious about an addition. But I think they, just like last year and really the previous year, I think they like the running back that they have a lot more than the public probably perceives it to be. So I don't know that they're running out to go shopping in a market where the expectation is if you're brought in, you're going to play. So I would look for just the offensive line right now, and we'll see where it goes.
That's our guy, Mike Schaefer, Husker 24/7. Great stuff today, Schaefer. We appreciate it as always.
Thanks, Schaefer.
All right, guys. Have a good one.
We will be back. More Hurrdat Sports Radio coming up next. We're back here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities, KFOR in Lincoln. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla here on the Pillar Exterior stage. It's time for Bet On It, brought to you by Warhorse Sportsbook, the best place in Nebraska to place your sports bets in the casino in Lincoln or in Omaha. Make sure you go check them out and check out all the rules and promotions at warhorsecasino.com. You would have got 2 out of 3 if you followed DB yesterday. Got that Arizona and
winning day.
My fighting Mick Cronin's UCLA back on the winning track.
Hey, so you know who's like done a 180 since we talked about them being in trouble?
Who?
Minnesota. Undefeated.
Yeah, weird.
Undefeated.
Weird.
Including getting 9 at the house from Michigan and winning outright.
Which you might have picked that one. Maybe
3-0 for the Fighting Ben Jacobsons.
Yeah, I don't. Isn't it Ben Johnson?
Ben Johnson. Did I say Jacobson?
Yeah, Jacobson is you and I.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, Ben
just
Johnson.
You and I.
No,
just you and
not
I.
you and I. You and I.
Yeah.
Like unit.
I'm gonna get
like
my guy on
G-unit.
I'm gonna get T-Mac on you.
Yeah.
Yes.
What T-Mac? What'd I do?
Nothing. He's just as good at that stuff.
Was yelling at me?
He's good at clapping back. Kind of. He's very funny.
You gotta hire it out. Like, what's the deal?
Well, sometimes I defer the punishment I want to delve out on you because we have to. We're in this for the long haul. You don't seem to care. I do.
That's because
I'm always looking for the good piece of cheese.
I know you're gonna endure.
Right.
Yeah, that's why I know I can get away with it.
Competitive stamina.
I'll sprinkle in something nice every once in a while. And you're like, there's that cheese.
How can I put up with this schmuck?
What'd I do?
Although my man B2, he had a good idea. He's like, just get a dirt and a shovel.
And what, bury me? All right, that seems dramatic.
that a little excessive?
I mean, like this, it seems disproportionate.
Oh shoot!
You know, like so.
You just never know with a threshold.
So my wife talks about this all the time because she listens to a lot of murder podcasts. You know,
Good on her.
and so
She seems very savvy.
you know, well, so she's a lot of them are like domestic situations, right?
Oh, she's resourceful.
And so she's just like, you know, if you ever want to leave, don't murder me, just leave.
I'm just saying,
You know?
if you're having that conversation, that's pretty funny.
It's very, you know, it's a very civil conversation. Like we're not having problems or anything. It's just, you know, she's like, she'll listen to a podcast. She'll be like, if you ever want to go, you could just go. You don't have to kill me.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's kind of the conversation we're having right now. Like if you want to go, you can just go. You don't have to kill me.
Oh man.
There's no need for a shovel. You can just walk away.
I got guys that keep shovels, so I would not dirty my own.
You wouldn't do it yourself?
I want to see it.
Make sure I was gone. You don't want to have a Maximus situation in Gladiator where like they told me he was dead. And then he creeps back up on you.
When Quintus gives that look like, oh my gosh.
Are you not entertained?
There's that guy.
So you don't want me to like roll it up on you, be like, my name is Maximus Decimus Meridius.
And I'm like, why? Look what got Aaron Hernandez in trouble.
A lot of things got
He shot a guy in the face and thought it was over. Ended up testifying against him.
A lot of things got Aaron Hernandez in trouble.
Yeah, that gets stranger by the day.
I would argue that the shooting people in general was where he went wrong.
It's not a good idea.
It's not a good start.
No,
Not a good start.
no, not a big gun guy.
No, we want to avoid those.
Yeah, not a big
Not
gun guy.
trying to get that. Not trying to get any crazy.
Yeah,
Look, you got any picks today?
So it's funny you say that because we just talked about this team. I'm going to give you a couple teams I want you to take a good look at.
Okay.
I told you and Matty D that I was premature, a little premature stipulation on the Georgetown Hoyas.
Yeah.
I'm going to take the Georgetown Hoyas today.
3.5 point dogs.
You'll have just finished cleaning up the kitchen. Although you eat a lot of processed food, so you ain't cooking anything. But
I'm not cooking anything. Just
it's 5:30. You'll be settled.
Who eats at 5:30? I'm not 90. Who's done eating at 5:30?
We're almost done. We're eating every day before 6.
Maybe you want to eat before the 6 o'clock game.
Zoe has to be in bed by 8:30. We're not stretching this thing out.
All right.
Yeah, that's part of it.
That's fair. St. John's 3.5 point favorites against Georgetown.
Yeah, I like the Hoyas. I like them a lot.
Why?
The number stinks. Number one.
Okay, should be bigger.
Yeah, and it's funny that Kerry James was talking about Mac.
Mm-hmm.
Mac was all world in the Ivy League. One of the top freshmen in the country every week. Didn't matter who he played against. Mac is really, really capable. A lot of these guys are capable. I like Georgetown getting 3.5 against your Johnnies. They are yours. They are yours.
No, I don't.
Yeah, you're taking them today. They're yours.
I don't like them.
Now, and I hate doing this because this number makes absolutely no sense.
Mm-hmm.
And they own Carolina.
Okay.
You have to take Pittsburgh laying the 4 at home. Capel owns North Carolina.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter if it's at the house, if it's at the Dean Dome. It should be 7, not 4.
Yeah. So that's not telling you anything?
I know.
Feels gross.
But guess what?
Yeah.
I just watched it. I don't know if you know this, because it's not that I put it in text specifically.
Mm-hmm.
Laying 16.5 against Stanford.
I thought it was 19.
Stanford.
Oh, Stanford.
You lose at home.
Yeah.
Laying 19.5 against Boston College at home.
Mm-hmm.
You're forced to go to OT when inexplicably with, 14 seconds to go, BC can't get a shot off. They couldn't even inbounds the ball.
I mean, Boston College isn't
necessarily a culmination of if you're good or not. Now BC isn't, but shoot, remember Creighton couldn't inbounds the ball for like a year.
No, but I mean getting a shot off with 14 seconds.
It was bad.
Like,
it's bad. It was really bad. And I was like, thank the Lord. Thank you, sweet baby Jesus.
How'd that go?
That, what I just sang, was an old hymnal.
So, is it?
No.
I think you might have made that up.
I did.
I think you might have made that up there.
I like Pittsburgh.
So, wait. So, hold on.
What?
Thank you, dear
So,
baby
generally, when the number's stinky, you go in favor
But it's not stinky. It's two teams, same record.
You said it should be 7, though.
That's what I would make it.
Right.
But the line is right.
Okay.
The line is right. I'm this right here. I'm playing history.
Okay.
Pittsburgh owns Carolina for whatever the reason. It's a bad matchup.
So you're taking Pitt.
Yeah, and it's sandwiched in kind of a home and home.
Mm-hmm.
Like they play Pitt twice in the next 4. It's a weird schedule.
Yeah, weird turnaround there.
So I like Pittsburgh, but I would put that 3rd if I'm slotting.
Okay, so Georgetown.
Yeah, lock it up.
Plus 3.5.
Yep.
What's second?
Cincinnati. On the road at Utah. Love
just Utah for the layman.
For the Mormon?
For the layman.
Oh.
You really can't hear, can you?
What? Hang on.
I feel like you're just reading my lips and guessing.
No. Was that KP in the stream that was like, thank God, I wish I could read lips?
Yes.
Somebody says something slick in the stream.
So Utah's a 1.5-point favorite at home.
Take Cincinnati.
You like Cincinnati as the 1.5-point dog.
Yep.
That's your number 2 pick.
Yep. Lock them all up.
So Georgetown's number 1.
You will have another winning day.
3.5-point dog.
Yep.
At home. Cincinnati's number 2.
Yep.
1.5-point dog on the road.
Yep.
And then you're taking Pitt as a 4.5-point favorite at home.
As Fonz would say, correctamundo.
How are you feeling about
Happy Days guy?
I actually watched Happy Days a lot when I was a kid.
Happy Days was the jam.
It was like syndicated when I was like, I think it was during the summers. I'd watch it. I was a big Happy Days, big Fonzie guy. Not a big Fonzie guy?
Yeah, he was cool.
Yeah, he was.
He was cool.
I liked the leather jacket. Thought it was a cool look.
Yeah, we weren't doing that a ton.
Who's we?
Young people.
Like you and Huffman? You weren't doing that a lot?
Well, the Fonz was not really that young in there. I mean, he was like a 30-year-old.
Okay, Stickler. Hanging out with high schoolers, by the way.
Yeah.
Which they still do on shows, Shane. Like, that's just how they... I don't know if you know this. Like, there's not a lot of 16-year-olds professionally acting.
Hey.
How you feel about Tennessee minus 10.5 against Kentucky?
Oh, yeah, I'd lay it. Don't spray it.
You like Tennessee there?
Yeah.
With the points?
Yeah.
Even bigger?
I'd lay it. Nah, but I'd lay it.
That's Bet On It, brought to you by Warhorse Sportsbook. That's DBM Ravi Lulla. We'll wrap up the show next. Back here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities, Capital and Lincoln. That's DBM Ravi Lulla here at Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill. And we're talking a little food, both on and off the show. And, of course, it's our guy, Asian Wyatt, wants to chime in on our conversation. Wyatt, what's going on, bud?
Well, yeah, I was going to start out with doing the imitation of the Price is Right yodeler, but that might have been appropriation. I didn't want to risk any of that. So.
You got to be careful those Scandinavians, Wyatt. They get real particular.
It's pretty good.
That's not bad.
Thank you.
Hey, so, all right, so what are we talking about here with Asian food? What do you want to know?
So, okay, what's like an Asian breakfast?
In Korea, it's kind of like breakfast is not like a major meal, but one is it's like a bowl of rice, and you put an egg on top of it, semi-cooked, and you mix it all together, and you can eat it that way.
So protein is just out, or what?
I can't really say for sure because I didn't. Like I said, I'm full Korean, but I grew up kind of half Korean, so I don't have a full knowledge of that. But it's not a major food, or not a major meal of the day.
I kind of get that, or why? Because like I couldn't tell you what an Indian breakfast is at all. Like I have no idea.
Yeah. So I mean, when you say you're Asian food because you got the South Asian, you got Southeast Asian, you got East Asian.
So that was kind of
that was
part of the discussion.
Yeah, that was. We were trying to kind of narrow it down,
parse it out.
I mean, he wanted to take everybody. I
mean, listen, I'm trying to set my boundaries in a place that are most advantageous for me.
I'll just take European. That's a lot of good stuff in there.
Oh, that's true.
Now, what would that include, though? I think more like you don't say, "Hey, I'm going to a European restaurant," but you would say, "I'm going to get Greek," or "I'm going to get Italian, or
French."
Yeah.
Yeah. So if I were to choose one, I'd probably choose Mediterranean. But if you want to,
that's a good low key
Mediterranean's
call.
a good one.
So I get Greek, right?
You get Greek and Italian, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's healthy. You can get a lot of healthy food, but you can also really get your heavy carbs as well.
Yeah, I'm out on that. I have one other question. Shane says none, and I still don't believe that, but he is a 4-year-old. Ravi says 12. Like mustards, sauces, dressing. How many condiments do you have in your refrigerator?
Here we got soy sauce. We got
you said it, not me.
We got a few different salad dressings. We got ketchup and mustard. We got a couple of different kinds of mustard. We're big fans of mustard.
Dude, I bet I have 6 kinds of mustard. I have yum sauce. I have rumlad. What more than 10?
If you count the pantry, then probably more than 10.
Okay. All right.
So he's in the neighborhood with me. I'm at like a dozen. Like we're in the neighborhood.
I bet he has way more than 10.
Yeah, I probably need to sit there and count it out.
They looked at me like I was pretty unique. I bet over 20 for sure.
I think Shane's is weirder than yours.
Well, Shane said none.
Yeah, I don't believe that.
Well, if you're just going for, you said, okay, so I missed the conversation. You said you put some gochujang on your ribs?
Yeah, so I did. There's this Kinder's Gold barbecue sauce because I don't like barbecue sauce and everybody else does. And I wanted the meat to tenderize. So when I put it back in the smoker under the foil, my compromise was using gochujang sauce.
Okay. Yeah, because my mom, she'll actually sometimes make, even with like not even the short ribs, like Reagan, like St. Louis ribs, she'll marinate them in basically like a bulgogi sauce.
Yep.
And then cook them, and they're excellent as well.
You're the inspiration for my bulgogi, Wyatt, as you know. So I appreciate that. Thank you. No, he really is.
What does Ravi inspire you to do?
Want to gouge my eyes out.
I'll say today he's been very murdery today, Wyatt, which I don't appreciate.
Yeah.
I feel like it's an overreaction.
Dude, off air, it's just a knockdown drag out. Like, it's incredible. So many inappropriate things.
Well,
would you stand for somebody saying cornbread in the sky, Wyatt?
I mean, I'm sure Wyatt wouldn't care.
What's the context here? I mean, remember,
he said pie in the sky, and I was like, I don't even know what that means. Like, I would never say pie in the sky. So his joke Tourette sat on it. And then over break, he goes, would it have made more sense if I had said cornbread in the sky?
No, hold on. You left out a lot of that conversation, okay? Because I go, oh, well, it's not your preference. It's the saying. It's like,
because I didn't know what the saying meant.
Pie in the sky just means like ideal, right? That's like your ideal circumstance. And so I was like, literally just the next dessert I thought of was cobbler. And he goes like, oh.
Well, I said cobbler would make more sense for me.
And then I didn't say anything on the air because professional. And then off air, I make a comment. I go, it's not like I said cornbread in the sky, because he was trying to make the cobbler thing racial. I was like, no, it's just the first dessert I thought of. Pie and cobblers right next to each other. They're tangential.
Well, whatever. Wyatt, I appreciate it. Thank you for. Yeah. You're just going to be Switzerland from here on out, Wyatt. You're neutral.
He's trying to get me canceled, Wyatt. That's all I'm saying.
Thank you, buddy. Shane, I don't believe Shane has no condiments in his fridge, though.
Yeah, I don't buy it. We might have to go do a Hurrdat Sports investigation of his fridge.
Did you see Amazing Daniel, who's married? We've seen his lovely wife several times. They don't eat dinner before 8.
I do a lot of later dinners.
But he says nobody in the house goes to bed before midnight.
Yeah, that's aggressive. I mean, listen, if I had my ideal schedule, that's about when I would go to bed.
Midnight?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's fair to me.
Like I somewhere between 12 and 1 is when I'd go to bed, and then I'd wake up somewhere between 7 and 9. Like that would be my ideal. You get to pick your schedule. That's how I would roll.
So Saturdays, like this past one, I text relatively early. It was in the 7s, I think.
Yeah.
So you're not even remotely up yet. Are you sleeping in on the weekends?
I do sleep in, but it depends on what time. Like sometimes I'll be up by 7 on the weekend, depending on what I have going on. But if I don't have anything going on, I'll sleep in a little bit.
What do the dogs do?
Usually I'll let them. So what?
Nothing. Dude says 0 condiments.
Yeah, I don't. Listen, we don't really cook at the house. I don't know how you have 0 condiments. Like, I don't understand that at all.
It's pretty easy not to have any when you don't get any. I mean, you don't go somewhere to get condiments. You don't go. I mean, I don't. You know, we're the stuff that I eat doesn't necessarily take that stuff.
You eat a lot of sandwiches. What do you put on there? Nothing.
Nothing.
I would. I mean,
you don't put anything on a sandwich.
Sometimes I do. Sometimes I don't. It's some variants of mustard.
Like,
maybe I have a smoky horseradish.
That's a condiment.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
Mustards are condiment. That counts. You got to put some sort of. I don't know a better way to say this. This is going to sound weird. You need some sort of like lubricant on a sandwich.
No,
I don't know.
Like I need a sauce or something on a sandwich, or like a condiment, something. I need something that's not bread, meat, cheese on a sandwich. Like I need something to kind of separate it a little bit.
Okay, so if I go to McDonald's and I get something with fries and I bring back condiments with the fries, like the ketchup, I probably whatever I don't use, I just throw away. But I normally get enough to not have.
I thought everybody had the packet drawer.
Like the drawer.
I get enough to where I don't have to throw it away. I mean, I just get like one, and then
mine's mostly like soy sauce. Like I don't have a lot of ketchup packets or anything in there, but you'll have like a soy sauce or I don't know whatever the other. Like I think you get little sweet and sour packets sometimes. Like there's a lot of Asian sauces in there, but I don't because that's usually if we'll get something to go, it's usually that. But I don't have a lot of like ketchup and stuff in the drawer. I've got ketchup in my fridge because I'm not a weirdo.
Yes, you are.
Amazing Daniel says, I hear you, but I definitely pick a different word. I was trying to find a word that encompassed like sauces and condiments on a sandwich, and I landed on lubricant. I'm not proud of it. I don't have a better one.
Yeah, just lube your sandwich up there.
That's right. You just got to lube that sandwich right up. Listen, we talk for 15 hours a week publicly on the air. Most of the time, I find a decent word for the thing I'm looking for. I don't have one. I'm sitting here. I'm still trying to think of it. I don't have a better word for than lubricant on your sandwich. I know it's gross. I'm seeing that QE1 is just doing the thing. He's like, oh, moist. Like I know
he's probably still on a heater from his last week of picks.
He's a sandwich potentiator. Sky Mac, I don't even know what you're talking about.
What a debacle.
Amazing Daniel says if I'm on the grill and somebody asks for lubricant for their hot dog, they're leaving. That's a whole different kind of cookout, Amazing Daniel. You gotta go. That's the show for the day. Also, hot dog famously not a sandwich. Anyway, that's the show for today. That's DBM Ravi Lulla. We may or may not be back tomorrow. See if any of his friends with shovels find me. So it's Hurrdat Sports Radio.